Well, well, well. It is a rainy, gloomy Saturday here in the DFW area, but nevertheless, I believe the sun is shining always as long as we have life on this side of life. And again, it is another great day to be a Dallas Cowboy fan. It's a great day to be a Dallas Cowboy fan. And I just got to tell you straight up, if you have come to this channel for negativity, you're at the wrong channel. But if you have come for some facts, if you have come for some fun, and if you have come for the truth, and if you have come for positivity, this is the right channel for you. Welcome, 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 Cowboy fans and Cowboy haters alike. I'm the G, and I'm the host of Let's Talk Cowboys, where we talk facts. And as you come in, please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell, so you know the next time we post another video or go live, you are rocking with a child of God. And I got a great show planned for us today. We're going to go around maximum 2.5 hours, but we're going to try to make it about 2 hours. It's Saturday. I'm pretty sure y'all got things to do. Some folks are going to catch this on the replay, and I'm sure they have things to do. But again, welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Man, we grinding. We are trying our best. We said 10,000, but can we get the 9,000 first? We grinding, trying our best. Y'all rocking with me. Let me give you the topics real quick, as we customarily do. And then we're going to do our roll call. And then I'll come back again and do the topics for people who come in a little bit late. And then we're going to get this thing rolling, all right? So these are the topics that we have on the docket for today. We're gonna continue this conversation with Joe Milton. I want to make sure and go back over something that I said yesterday. And I want to make sure that we understand that what I said was actually factual. We're going to talk about Joe Milton some more today. We're going to talk a little bit about Trey Lance. I didn't get a chance to really dig into the Trey Lance thing yesterday, but I want to talk about it a little bit today. I want to look at there's a mock draft out there that is talking about the wide receiver 2 for the Dallas Cowboys. And I think this mock draft is very interesting, and I just want to look at it for who they have as the wide receiver number 2. Then we have a video from 105.3 The Fan. They talked about the 30 visits the Cowboys are doing or have done, and they're also talking about one Joe Milton. It's about a 17-minute video. We're going to listen to that, and we're going to react to it, and then we'll close with whatever news that we have. But that's how we're going to do it today on Let's Talk Cowboys. Joe Milton, Trey Lance, mock draft wide receiver 2, 30 visits video, and closing news. Again, appreciate y'all rocking with me. We're going to get a roll call for the folks that are in here. And then we're going to move on to our first topic. Let's get it. Oh, yeah. Let's go. Dominique Pittman, what up? What's going on with you? Good to see you. John Jones, yes, sir. What up, Cowboys Nation? What's good? What's good? Hey, what's good? My brother Roderick, what's up? Yo. Roderick, you at the job? Lord Nova 85, what's up? What's up? Gene Martz, what's up? Gene said, "Oh, we 5:30 or 9:30?" It's supposed to be 4:30 as far as the show go today. Yes, sir. Dak owns Filthy and Atlas Razor. Dak owns Filthy. Do you like advertise for companies? Man, you be having like these different names at the end. My man Jared Thomas, what's up? Yep, the Dak Prescott haters got to stop. Boy, man, Jared, let me tell you. Jared, I do not let people live rent-free in my head. But boy, let me tell you something. There are some absolute haters But haters are necessary. It lets you know you're doing something right. But boy, there are some haters. Woo! Bill Elliott, what's going on? Great day to be a Dallas Cowboy fan. That's what I always say. Man, it's a great day to be a Dallas Cowboy fan. La Queen, what's up with you? Good evening. Appreciate you rocking with me. Jay Quay, what up, what up? Yep. Robert Simmons, what's up? DB, what up, what up? Marcus Warner, good afternoon, my brother. What is up with you? Oh, there he is, that man, Ice Cold Cowboy. He called me Double OG. Hey, your name said all. Boy, you ice cold, man. What's going on with you? Alex, what up, my man? Azteca, what's up? This is an OG roll call. Yes, sir. What's going on with you? Yes, sir. Angry Cowboy fan. What's good, man? Angry Cowboy. Let me tell y'all something. If y'all haven't subscribed to Angry Cowboy fan, subscribe. This man has one of the most unique voices in Cowboys Nation. I absolutely love his voice. This man could narrate a movie or something. Good afternoon. Good evening to you, Angry Cowboys fan. Roger, what up with you again? Kelvin Hicks, what up, what up? Dimitri Nunez, what's going on with you? Good to see you in here. All right, let's go. Mr. J, what up, what up? Yes, sir. All right. Appreciate y'all rocking with me. Topics for the day again. The topics for today again. Joe Milton, Trey Lance, mock draft wide receiver 2, 30 visits video. And then we're going to have closing news in case something comes up while we are on here, or y'all let me know something. Y'all ready? Let's get it.
Here we go.
Let me get a couple of more here. Quasi Blake, what's going on? Hallelujah. What up, what up? All right, let's get started. So, there has been a lot of talk about Joe Milton. And let me tell you off the rip, I love the move the Cowboys made with one Joe Milton. But again, we got to pump our brakes on Joe Milton because people are already crowning him as the Dak Prescott replacement. We got to stop this type of stuff. Let the man come in and do exactly what he said he's going to do. Let the man come in, learn, let him develop because he needs some developing. Let the man develop and let's stop wishing and hoping just bad things on Dak Prescott. We got people saying stuff like, oh, he's not going to be healthy. Oh, if he get hurt, it's over for him. Stop it. Stop it. This stuff, we shouldn't even be saying this stuff. How about we just let this man come in, develop, and my hope for, I'm just keeping it real on Joe Milton III. I love this trade about Joe Milton III because I'm telling you, when I saw him in the preseason last year, I'm sorry, I was just kind of like, man, New England might ought to look at letting this guy maybe challenge Drake May. That's kind of what my attitude was about it. But again, he's in Dallas. But let us understand, he needs some development. And I'm not talking about a little bit of development. Joe Milton needs a lot of development. Now, let me tell you where Joe Milton does not need development. The dude is talented. Arm, check. Rocket arm. Absolute rocket arm. Dude can sling it a mile. He can sling it a mile. But slinging it a mile don't mean you're a great quarterback. I guarantee you, there are some wide receivers who are ex-quarterbacks. Boy, they could probably sling it a mile too. They could probably sling it a mile too. It takes more than being able to sling the ball a mile to play quarterback. It is so crazy, man. I've even seen some comparisons out there. People talking about, yeah, man, he like Josh Allen. Stop it. Stop it. We got to stop doing this to this young man. People put this stuff all out on social media. You know what? People can do what they want to do. But let us as Cowboy fans, let us not fall into this nonsense again. We did the same thing when Trey Lance came to town. People were swearing Trey Lance is the truth. Trey Lance is going to take Dak Prescott's fault. I've heard it about Andy Dalton. I've heard it about Trey Lance. I've heard it about Cooper Rush. You just hear this stuff over and over and over. Calm down. Calm down. Let's come to some common ground, especially as we talk about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, there's no arguing about Dak Prescott in the regular season. Joe Milton hasn't even done that in the regular season. Let's pump the brakes on Joe Milton. Joe Milton he seems like by all intents and purposes, Joe Milton is a great kid, looks like to me. Joe Milton looks like he's a great kid. He looks like he's a great kid. He looks like he's got his head together. He wants to come in here. He wants to learn. I do think he sees an opportunity. I think he sees an opportunity that Dak is on probably, at least in his mind, the last contract, or the possibility is there that Dak is on the last contract, and he's seeing it as maybe it's his opportunity. But understand what Joe Milton is. I'm not saying that he's Trey Lance, but what I am saying, he's another Trey Lance from this perspective. People need to put some respect on Trey Lance's name. At least when I'm talking about how he got here. You don't get to this level unless there is something about you that gets you to this level. One is the play. But let me tell you about Trey Lance. Trey Lance and Joe Milton III, they both have gotten here to me in similar ways, similar fashion. I guarantee you, if you go back and check these kids' past, they were the biggest players most of the time everywhere they played. Trey Lance is 6'4". Joe Milton is 6'5". And don't let Trey Lance fool you either. Trey Lance has a rocket for an arm. Now, no one has talked about how far Trey Lance can throw it. But let me tell you something. This dude, Trey Lance, he got a rocket. Trey Lance got a rocket for an arm too. He does. He has similar traits to Joe Milton. But understand something about traits. Traits don't always equate. Traits do not always equate, and I'm not trying to rhyme, but it just rhymes. Traits do not always equate to greatness. They don't. You don't think there were people who could jump higher than Michael Jordan? People who could shoot better than Michael Jordan? The problem is they're not Michael Jordan. They don't have the ability to weave all those tools together and then apply them to their play and be absolutely dominant. Pump the brakes. Joe Milton isn't there yet. Joe Milton isn't there yet. And Joe Milton, I'm just going to state the facts about Joe Milton. That's all I'm going to do. Because we're not going to trash Joe Milton. We are not going to trash Joe Milton. But we're also, or I'm not going to, some of y'all might, but I'm not going to put Joe Milton on a pedestal. I'm not going to put Joe Milton on a pedestal. Joe Milton III is not the first big quarterback that has come through. Well, we know he's not the first big quarterback to come through Dallas because we just had Trey Lance come through Dallas. He's not the first big-bodied, big-armed quarterback that we've seen come in this league. He's not. He's not. He's got the tools. Those things do not equate into being a top-tier quarterback in this league because we watch quarterbacks as small as Kyler Murray. Let this sink in your head. Kyler Murray, how tall is he? They lie and say he's 5'10". I don't believe Kyler Murray's 5'10". Kyler Murray looks every bit of 5'8" to me. He's a first-round draft pick. Joe Milton was a sixth-round draft pick. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Size, big arm, elusiveness, those are not the things that make you into a starting quarterback in this league. Look at Drew Brees. When you look at some of the most successful quarterbacks in this league, they don't look like Joe Milton and Trey Lance. Let me tell you something about Joe Milton and Trey Lance. Joe Milton and Trey Lance are the dream quarterbacks. Joe Milton, and I'm just keeping it real, Joe Milton and Trey Lance are the dream quarterbacks. What I mean by that? You dream that you could get a quarterback as big as those guys, with the talent that those guys have, that can actually put that talent and apply it on the field and be absolutely great and dominant. Man, you wish. You think about Megatron, how big Megatron was. You wish that you could get wide receivers every day like Megatron. You can't. You can't, because a lot of times guys who are that big, even when they have tools, they can't quite put it all together like a Jerry Rice, like a Randy Moss, like a Terrell Owens. They can't put it together like a Michael Irvin. They can't put those things, even when you look at them and say, boy, they got greater tools. Let me tell you something about tools. I got a whole bunch of them in the garage right now. Unfortunately, I don't even have those tools. Some of them, I don't even have them in toolboxes. Because I'm not a person that really works on things like that. I'm more of a computer savvy, technology type person. So when I get tools, I typically get a tool for a job that I have. But at the end of the day, you don't want me to fix anything. I got a bunch of tools in the garage. Unfortunately, if you want something other than something simple done, I'm not going to be able to do it for you. But I might have all the tools. I can tell you, hey, you looking for a tool? Go out there and see if it's out there. I mean, it could be out there. But I can't do the job with those tools. And so that happens to people. And so we're talking about Joe Milton. Let us just pump the brakes on Joe Milton and understand this. Boy, does he have the tools. Yes, he does. And I've looked at tape on him. Other people have looked at tape on him. And people I've trust have looked at tape on him. Vosh Lombardi, he did a video on him this morning. Go check him out. He talked about him. He talked about Joe Milton. I trust Vosh Lombardi. Brian Broaddus has done film work on him. I trust Brian Broaddus. And I'm going to tell you who else I trust. I trust this league. I don't trust everybody in this league, but I trust this league. I trust this league from this perspective. I want you to think about what this league did with Trey Lance. I think this league over-evaluated Trey Lance. This league over-evaluated Trey Lance. It took for granted that he barely played. It took for granted that he didn't have a lot of snaps. It did. It over-evaluated him. And then when he got in the league, people started seeing him in practice. See, it wasn't just the games. It wasn't just the games. It was also the practices. We used to have a guy, I hadn't seen him in a while. We used to have a guy who used to come on the channel, and he was from the Bay Area, and he said they used to watch him up close. And he was saying this. He was saying this before the whole Trey Lance stuff started. He was saying, man, Trey Lance isn't what y'all think he is. He was saying it. He was saying Trey Lance isn't what y'all think he is. There's a reason why the 49ers, watch this, there was nobody willing to give the 49ers a fourth-round draft pick other than the Cowboys. Guess what? I got to hear the rest of the story on Joe Milton because the reports are, well, Joe Milton wanted to play for the Cowboys. The Patriots did him a favor, and they wanted they could have got a better offer for him, but they did him a favor because he wanted to go to the Cowboys, and they let him do it. Do not believe these lies. How much better? How much better? Even Brian Broaddus reported, long before anyone was talking about this, the New England Patriots wanted a third. Brian Broaddus reported this long before anybody was talking about it. Brian Broaddus said they'll get no more than a fifth. Brian Broaddus reported this way before anybody. He said it'll probably be a fifth. You know what's ironic about that fifth? No one else was willing to give it. No one else was willing to give that fifth. And you think about the Cowboys actually gave a fifth and got a seventh back. The league, after evaluating, kind of knowing what he is, nobody knows him better than the New England Patriots. And there was rumblings that they didn't want to get rid of him. But let me tell you something. Y'all talking about him taking Dak Prescott's position. Well, if he was killing it up in New England, why would they let him go for a fifth? Why would they not say, people talking about, man, the Cowboys, this dumb stuff by Shady McCoy. Man, the Cowboys will walk away from that $231 million. Will they? Oh, okay. I've seen teams before walk away from a big name quarterback. Stop it. You're talking about Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. Why wasn't New England willing to do it? Why wasn't New England willing to do it? Why wasn't New England willing to walk away from a first-round draft pick quarterback that they have on a rookie deal? They wouldn't take near the hit the Cowboys would take if they considered that after looking at Drake May and looking at Joe Milton III in practice for an entire season, this dude Joe Milton's ceiling, his tools, and all these things are so good, maybe we made him, maybe we found a diamond in the rough. Maybe we should let Joe Milton be the quarterback or let him challenge Drake May. And if he beats out Drake May being a first-round draft pick quarterback, we could get a second-round draft pick for Drake May. Tell me they couldn't. Tell me they couldn't. Tell me they couldn't. It makes more sense for New England to keep him and let him challenge their quarterback. Joe Milton is way more athletic than Drake May. Way more athletic. I'm talking leaps and bounds off the page than Drake May. Why wouldn't New England do it? People said it's new coaching staff. Maybe I'm missing something. Was Mike Vrabel there when they got Drake May? Was he there when they got him? He's not attached to either of these quarterbacks. He's not attached to neither one of these quarterbacks. What was the difference that somebody said, rather than us allowing Drake May and Joe Milton, rather than us creating a quarterback competition on our own team, and let the best man win because Joe Milton III is that doggone good, they shipped him out. Why would they do that? I'm just asking the questions that no one wants to answer. We're running around here talking about what he going to do to Dak Prescott. Well, why couldn't he do the same thing to Drake May? What did he do? What did he do in his first season that would make you go, boy, Super Bowl bound, next Tom Brady? We're going on a run with him. I'm just telling you what I saw. When I saw him in the preseason, I was kind of like, wow. Why won't New England maybe they ought to consider letting him challenge him. But they didn't. Why didn't they? Why didn't they? We don't think. Because we don't think. We don't ask these questions. Because the moment we start getting something here, we just start losing our minds about it. I'm just telling you the truth about Joe Milton. Extremely talented. Extremely talented. Upside. And again, I'm talking about when we first got Trey Lance and now we got now we got Joe Milton. Joe Milton, I don't know how to say it because we just haven't seen enough. But again, Joe Milton probably has more of an upside than Trey Lance. All I can say is probably. All I can say is probably. And the funny thing is, let me revert to this. I want to acknowledge some of y'all in the comments again. I see some new people in here. I want to acknowledge this. I said this yesterday, and I don't have to stand by it. I don't have to stand by what I said yesterday. Because again, one thing I'm not going to do, and I promise you I'm not going to do this. I've already said I'm not going to do it. The one thing you will not have to worry about with me, I will not be going back and forth with content creators. I will not do it, and I refuse to do it. I will not go back and forth. I will not play these games with content creators. I will not do it. I absolutely love all of the content creators. Everybody has something that they bring, but the one thing I will not be doing is talking down on content creators. I'm not trying to rob anybody's audience. I don't want anybody not to be successful. I'm not going to go back and forth. I'm not going to do that type of stuff. That's just not how I'm going to operate here. I'm not going to be fighting and going back and forth and name calling and any of this other stuff. But I made a comment yesterday about Joe Milton. And one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to go back and make sure that I knew what I was talking about, even though I knew what I was talking about, but I wanted to double check. But I want to go back to Matty Dubs. And I said this yesterday when I was showing the video. I want to go back to Matty Dubs. The game that everyone is talking about. The game that everybody is talking about is this doggone Buffalo Bills game. And let me show you. There's a reason why when Matty Dubs does the video on one Joe Milton, he does this by design. It's this one play in particular that if you notice, everybody keeps showing. It's this play right here. This is the play that everybody keeps showing. And it is a crazy, crazy play. Watch this.
Day one starter, obviously.
Now, even Matty Dubs said, even Vosh Lombardi said, everybody who is being honest with themselves are saying the same thing. Joe Milton is not a day one starter. He's not here to take Dak Prescott's spot. I mean, not in the next 3 to 4 years. Our hope, the Joneses' hope, I'm sure too, is for Dak Prescott to fulfill that contract. And Dak said it. I owe the Cowboys. He wants to make good on it too. There is nobody that wants to make good on that contract like Dak Prescott. I don't care what anyone says. Dak Prescott does not want to be Kirk Cousins. Dak Prescott wants to justify the paychecks that he's gotten, and Dak Prescott wants to go out of this thing with two. Dak wants to go out of this thing with two or three. Dak wants to go out of this thing with 2 or 3. Dak has always been an overachiever. Dak Prescott, I'm telling you, I guarantee you this man wants to shut everybody up. Can't shut everybody up by himself, but he wants to shut everybody up. Because I'm telling you about me. Being the highest paid is something that I do well. That ain't good enough for me. Well, why would it be? Why would that be the goal for me? If I do something well, to be the highest paid at it, that would not be the goal for me. And let me tell you why. Because I'm good at it. And I'm not being arrogant. But if I'm good at it, why wouldn't I expect to be paid? If I'm good at it, right? Why would I be satisfied becoming the highest paid? So, I should be the highest paid. I mean, maybe I think different than other people. But my thought process is, if I'm the highest paid at what I do, yeah, because I deserve it. Being the highest paid for me is not the goal. Championships is the goal. And I want to prove that I'm worth being the highest paid. That's what I want to prove. Let me tell you something let me tell you, when you are talented at something, let me help us out. The money comes automatically. When you are talented at something, when you're in the upper echelon of what you do, the money comes with the territory, bro. The money comes with the territory, sisters. The money comes with the territory. And if you are one of the best at what you do, the money, while it may make you sleep well at night, it's not the goal. It's not. The goal is Super Bowls. The goal is championships. That's how championship people roll. But again, it's this play right here that Matty Dubs and others keep showing. I'm going to show you the play, and then I'm going to give you the facts on this entire game. Look at this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Dallas Cowboys have done it. They've traded for a quarterback in Joe Milton I really do like. Now, I don't think he's a day one starter. Obviously, Dak Prescott's still here. But in terms of potential, dude, I love what this dude brings to the table. He's got extreme physical traits, massive frame.
That throw right there, that throw is incredible. But let me preface it with this. This is the part that we already know about Joe Milton. This dude has a rocket arm. It is, if we really understand who Joe Milton is, they said his combine throws, I think, was somewhere between 62 and 65 miles per hour. For him to rip that throw, that's nothing for him. Those throws like that are nothing for him.
And a guy that can make things happen off and on script. I mean, look at this play here.
Big kid.
So basically what we're going to see is a quick out. We're going to see this tight end come up into a stop route. We're going to see another out over here. And we're going to have an in. Okay. Running back will break out of the backfield into a little bit of like a little quick out route as well. Now, as this play breaks down, the offensive line is going to be in what you call a 5-man scat protection where the center can slide to the left or the right, depending on what he thinks he needs to do.
Now, I want you to pay attention to the players out here. I want you to pay attention to the players. Now, watch this.
So, as this play develops, immediate pressure in the pocket. So again, we talked about off-script plays, his ability to get out of this pressure play, right? Get outside the pocket.
Now, the reason why I'm showing you this play is that there's something that needs to be said about this play in a sense. I want you to look at this coverage. Look how wide open these players are. Look how wide open these players are. These guys are wide open. Boom, boom, boom. All three of these dudes wide open. Now, he's being flushed out of the pocket. But I'm about to give you context on this. He's being flushed out of the pocket. This all looks fantastic.
My favorite thing about him is even when
Watch
he
this.
gets outside the pocket, his first instinct isn't always to run the ball. We don't want that. We want a quarterback that can, get out, but continue to look down the field. Because guys can break open, and you're going to see Kayshon Boutte, top of your screen here. Watch this. As he rolls out.
Again, look how wide open. Look how many people are wide open. 1, 2, 3. I'm saying this for a reason. All 3 of these guys are wide open. This dude, Joe Milton, can just, I'm not sure what's behind this guy, but Joe Milton has got this throw on the sideline. If you can see my mouse, he's got this throw on the sideline. He definitely got this throw right here, and he's got this throw right here.
He's going to stop. He's going to see Boutte fill that gap. Now watch the arm strength of this throw to fit that in there and then lead him for a touchdown. This is beautiful.
Now, let me show you why I'm showing that. Those players are open. They are. They're open. They're wide open. But let me show you why I'm telling you this. Let me give you context, because context is king. We do realize that this was the last game of the season for the Buffalo Bills. This was the last game of the season for the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills were playing for absolutely nothing. The Buffalo Bills had clinched the number 2 spot, I'm thinking it was. I'm thinking it was the number 2 or either the number 3. I think they clinched the number 3 because they went to Baltimore and beat. I'm drawing a blank on the playoffs. But didn't the Buffalo Bills, were they not the number 2 seed? Let me make sure. Make sure here. I thought they were the number 2 seed in 2024. I want to make sure. The Buffalo Bills are the number 2 seed. They have absolutely nothing to play for. Nothing. Nothing to play for. Understand, they're looking at this game as a rest game. That's not knocking Joe Milton. Joe Milton did what he did. That doesn't mean that Joe Milton didn't go 22 of 29. But let's understand that there is some context playing into him being 22 of 29. There is some context that goes into the fact that the New England Patriots beat the Buffalo Bills 40-14. Why did they do that? How did they do that? Well, let's look at number 1. Number 1. Josh Allen, because people like to keep these records going of the most consecutive starts. Josh Allen came on the field, took 1 snap, and sat down. One snap and sat down. Mitchell Trubisky is the quarterback. Now, I don't know about you. What do you think the rest of the team are thinking once they understand that Josh Allen is only going to take 1 snap? What do you think their thought process is about this game? What do you think their thought process is? Do you think they're about to go out here? Do you literally think they're about to go out here because the NFL took the bye week away from the 1st and the 2nd seed and only gives the bye week to the number 1 seed, so the number 2 seed then has to find a way to get themselves a bye week in a sense, but they can't take everyone off, so they have to find ways to get some rest. So what do you think the Buffalo Bills did? Josh Allen, 1 snap. That's all he played. Now, that changes the whole thought process of the game. Because the only thing that everyone is thinking, whoever the starters are, because they can't let them all off. So whoever the starters who are playing, those starters are thinking, okay, I'm going to play, but I'm going to make sure I don't get hurt. I'm not going out here and going all out. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, how does this apply to Joe Milton? Do you know how many starters? Do you know how many starters the New England Patriots actually sat out of this game? If you don't think that make a difference, then this is the wrong conversation for you. But context matters. The situation matters. You want to know one of the knocks that Shannon Sharp has not on just Dak Prescott, he has on Michael Parsons, he has on the Dallas Cowboys. One of the things that he says that when there is nothing on the line for the Dallas Cowboys, they play well. But when there's something to play for, he said they crumble. He didn't say Dak crumble, he said they crumble, including Michael Parsons. This phenomenon is not just with the Dallas Cowboys. This happens a lot towards the end of the season when teams who have already clinched the playoffs and they start trying to sit starters and they're trying to use that game somewhat as a rest game. They're playing for nothing. You play different when you're playing for nothing. Joe Milton did not go up against the same team that throttled the Baltimore Ravens. He didn't go up against that team. That's not the team Joe Milton played, people. And that's not a knock on Joe Milton. We got to stick with the truth. It's not a knock on Joe Milton. It's the truth that Joe Milton isn't a starting quarterback yet. He's not ready to be a starting quarterback yet. That don't mean he won't be. That don't mean he doesn't have the potential to be. That don't even mean that he can't be. But he's not ready to be a starter yet. And the game against the Buffalo Bills is just another one of these games in a line of games to where when you look at his draft profile, it fits it perfectly. He makes very splashy plays. He will make plays that'll make your head spin. And then there are other plays and you're going, that don't quite look right. Vosh Lombardi said the same thing today. Vosh Lombardi said, yes, he's got a rocket arm. Vosh Lombardi said the problem is when he throws the ball, he doesn't always know where the ball is going. Duh, that's what Vosh Lombardi watched film. Brian Broaddus watched film. I watched film. Other people have watched film. Scouts have watched film, and they're all coming to the same conclusion. The kid is super talented, but he needs development. And he's not going to take Dak Prescott's place. I got news for us. I told y'all this yesterday. Boy, y'all better stop sleeping on Will Grier. That boy Will Grier is going to say, you're not coming up in here and be the second string quarterback. Will Grier is going to give, I'm telling you, he's going to give Joe Milton III all he can handle. Trying to get that second string quarterback position, I promise you. I promise you, that boy Will Grier can play too. And he's not as big, he's not as fast, he doesn't have the rocket arm. But what he can play is quarterback. That boy Will Grier gonna have something to say about Joe Milton III coming in here in his first season being the second string quarterback. Joe Milton needs work. Let me go to my point. The internet is amazing. The internet is amazing. The internet is amazing, isn't it? I said what I said yesterday. I said what I said based on facts because I already knew what happened with Joe Milton in that game. Now, if you let other people tell it. Now, Matty Dubs, nothing against Matty Dubs. All he is doing is reporting. And again, be careful sometimes when you watch film. And especially when you watch film, sometimes other people put together. Because if I want someone to look good to everybody, do you think I'm going to show you think I'm going to show their strengths and their weaknesses? You think I'm going to show you their great plays and their bad plays? All I want you to see is their good plays because I'm trying to sell you on this person. But do you know what the scouts do? The scouts look at all the tape. They're looking at the good throws. They're looking at the bad throws, the short throws, the intermediate, the long throws. They're looking at everything. They're understanding the moments in the game. They're understanding all of this, and they're evaluating, okay, how is he truly performing? Look at what it says in the headlines. Bills scratch 8 starters for the finale, including defensive tackle closing in on $250,000. That's fact. That's absolute fact. You want to know something else strange that they did? Guess where the starters came from? Look at this. The Buffalo Bills listed 6 defensive starters amongst the game day inactives versus the New England Patriots. So let me ask y'all a question. Take 6 starters off any defense. Take 6 starters off anybody's defense. How do they look? How do they look? Y'all tell me if I'm crazy. If you are playing against a team, you're the quarterback and you're playing against that defense. If that defense is missing 6 starters, are you playing against the starters or the backups? Are you playing against the starters or the backup? Y'all help me. Maybe I'm crazy. Who are you playing against if you're missing 6 starters? Maybe I'm crazy. How do you think Joe Milton looks against those starters? How do you think Joe Milton looks against those starters? How do you think he looks? We saw what the Buffalo Bills did to Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. How do you think Joe Milton looks against the starters? Even Brian Browder said that when the Buffalo Bills played the New England Patriots, they first tried to play Joe Milton straight up. Why? Why are they playing him straight up? They have nothing to play for. And let me tell you what else the Buffalo Bills have in their mind. I got to put this in your mind right. There is nobody who thought the New England Patriots were going to be dumb enough to come out and try to beat the Buffalo Bills. How dumb was that? What are you proving? You came out and beat the Buffalo Bills and gave up the first round. You gave up the number 1 overall draft pick to drop to the 3rd? Stop it. Stop this nonsense. If I'm not mistaken, they dropped from the 1st to the 3rd on that win. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But again, I'm telling you, the Buffalo Bills were not out there giving it their all. It's not that the backups were not playing. Joe Milton did not play the doggone Buffalo Bills. He didn't play the starters. It's not the same team Lamar Jackson's faced. I'm telling you it's not. It's not the same team. Let me show you this. You want some more facts? Watch this. The Buffalo Bills inactives. In particular, the strange thing to me, it's the defense. So, Christian Benford. Guess what he is? Christian Benford is the starting cornerback. He's the starting cornerback for the Buffalo Bills. You don't think the defense looked different without Christian Benford? You don't think that it made it easier for Joe Milton III without Christian Benford out there? Wait a minute. Hold on a second. You're telling me Teron Johnson is not out there either? So you're missing Teron Johnson. I'm thinking he's a nickel cornerback. You're missing Teron Johnson and Christian Benford. Hold on. You're missing Terrell Bernard. You're not only missing Terrell Bernard, but look at this. So you sit down your defensive tackles? What do you think their defense looks like without the defensive tackles? What do you think they look like? Leon Dawkins, left tackle, sat down. Teron Johnson, cornerback, sat down. Defensive tackle, Daquan Jones, sat down. Ed Oliver, defensive tackle, sat down. Defensive end, Greg Rousseau, sit down. You're playing the backups. That's not a knock on Joe Milton. That's the truth. The problem is I've learned about people in this society. When you start talking about truth, you're hating. No, it's the truth. Two things can be true. Joe Milton looked good against the Buffalo Bills, 22 of 29, and had an insane splashy throw. That's true. But he played against mostly backups. That's true too. Not only did he play against backups, he played against a team who was trying to take a bye week. They were. Because there is no multiverse. There is no multiverse that they could beat the Buffalo Bills with Joe Milton, with that team last year. There is no universe where they could beat the Buffalo Bills 40-14. Stop it. Stop it. This isn't Joe Milton hate. This is helping you to understand. Pump the brakes. Dallas did a good thing. You better believe they did a good thing in bringing in Joe Milton. The Cowboys did a good thing. But let's stop acting like they went out and got a first-round draft pick quarterback. And they even did that and it didn't work out. Tell me where I'm lying. Tell me where I'm lying. Two things can be true. Joe Milton is talented. Joe Milton looked good against the Buffalo Bills. Joe Milton was a good trade pickup for the Dallas Cowboys. All three of those things are true. Can I give you some more truth? He's not ready to be a day one starter. Fact. He played against the backups in that Buffalo Bills game. Fact. And you can't argue it. Now, if you want to play semantics and say, well, not all of them were backups. What? Man, take away any team's defensive tackle and their main edge rusher. Take away from the Dallas Cowboys, Mozzie Smith, Oso Digizua, and Micah Parsons. Tell me what they look like. Oh, we saw it, didn't we? I think we saw it, didn't we? We saw what the Cowboys looked like when the entire defense almost went down. I think we saw it, didn't we? We got mollywopped. We got mollywopped by teams. We did. Joe Milton, two things can be true. Cowboy Nation, we have to pump the brakes and let's not do this kid like this. Because the main people advocating for him will be the same people that if he doesn't work out, they'll be the same one ready to ship him off to the doggone Canadian Football League like many people were ready to do to Trey Lance. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. One thing that I'm going to do on this channel, I'm speaking fact-based information. I don't have time for silly, I just don't have time for it. I want to keep it positive. I want to keep it fun, but I also want to keep it fact-based. And what I said about Joe Milton, you can't dispute it. You can, but you're arguing against the actual facts. This man played against a team that had nothing to play for. They were looking at it as a preseason game. And as I just saw down here, someone said it was a preseason game. It's exactly what it was. There is no way that he wouldn't have had a chance against the Buffalo Bills defense this year. Man, that defense was insane. Man, he wouldn't have had a chance. Let me read some of these super chats, and then I'm gonna finish up Joe Milton and move on. O3, appreciate that super chat. Boy, O3, he said, "What's up, G? Joe Mill is literally Lance if he had more reps." Boy, O3, let me tell you something. I'm about to give you another stat on Joe Milton and Trey Lance that's going to blow your mind. I'm about to give you another stat that's crazy. It's mind-blowing. Appreciate that super chat. But again, 03, I don't want to go there yet. But I can tell you this. Some of the same stuff we're saying about Joe Milton was the same stuff people were saying about Trey Lance. And I saw people on YouTube, I saw the pundits, they were all saying some of the similar warnings. Yeah, Trey Lance is going to take Dak Prescott's spot. How'd that work out? The part they forgot was Trey Lance first had to beat Cooper Rush. That was the part they forgot. We did the same stuff with Trey Lance. And all people were talking about with Trey Lance was the attributes, the tools, the attributes, the tools. I told you, I got a garage full of tools. You want something fixed? I can't fix it. You can have all the tools in the toolbox. If you don't have the knowledge to apply how to use those tools in the correct way, I'm telling you, you can go into a man's garage and he have 100 different tools for everything under the sun that you can fix. But if he can't fix it, them tools don't mean nothing. Bottom line, I got the tools in my garage to install a water heater, but I can't do it. I can't do it. That's the issue. He still needs development. My brother Roger, appreciate that super chat. Skeptical fan, appreciate you. Skeptical fan, you're saying truth. Milton is a bridge quarterback. He's a bridge quarterback. And the reason why I believe he's a bridge quarterback is he's 25 years of age. That's not old in quarterback years, but that is old for a second-year quarterback. That's old. That's old. And if Dak Prescott stays healthy for all intents and purposes, by the time he gets on the field, he will be almost like a Danny White type quarterback for us. Danny White was a bridge quarterback in a sense. He was a good, don't get me wrong, boy, I cried that Danny White couldn't get a Super Bowl. Great guy, great person, and I got these same vibes with Milton. He seems to be a great guy, great person. He's going to come in here, put his head down. He's going to get to work. And I love the fact he's already touched base with Dak Prescott. Everybody running around here flapping their gums, acting like Dak Prescott is concerned about what everyone is saying, like he going to take Dak Prescott's spot. And Dak Prescott and this guy is already connected. And I guarantee you, Dak Prescott is already encouraging him. And while everybody else is flapping their gums about he's taking Dak Prescott's place, Dak Prescott is going to take this kid up on his wing, and he's going to treat him. He's going to treat him great. He's going to try to show him everything he can show him to try to help him be a pro, because Dak is so confident in who he is that Dak is, hey, you know what? It is what it is. If you beat me, you beat me. But I'm not going to withhold knowledge for you. I want the best for you. But again, if you beat me, you beat me. But I also know he's thinking in his head, but you're not going to beat me. You're not going to beat me. And he's not at that level yet. He's not, we don't even know if he can beat Will Grier. He's not at that level yet. But again, boy, this is a great pickup by the Cowboys. And you know what? Trey Lance would have been a great pickup for the Cowboys if Jerry hadn't have brought him in as a leverage piece. If he don't bring him in as a leverage piece, well, everyone's looking at Lance different. But because Jerry brought him in as a leverage piece, and some people's expectations were that Trey Lance was going to run Dak Prescott out of town and the Joneses were not going to do his deal, that's why Trey Lance looked so disappointing when he got his opportunity, because of the expectations. Let me tell you something, Cowboys Nation, expectations is the robber of joy. Expectations rob your joy. We got to let Joe Milton develop. We have to let him develop. And I'm glad he's with the Cowboys. He's going to be behind Dak Prescott. Great leader, great worker. He's going to learn a lot of things from Dak Prescott. And in about 3 years, man, he might be ready. He might be ready to just kill it. He might be the quarterback for the Cowboys after Dak Prescott's gone, he might be the quarterback for the Cowboys for the next 5 to 7 years. Again, understand, problem with him is he's older. He's an older quarterback. And let me tell you some things about Joe, I noticed again, and I talked about this yesterday, but I want to bring up these facts also about Joe Milton because I also find this to be astounding. When you look at the number of games, that Joe Milton has started in college, and when you look at the number of games that Trey Lance has played in college, Joe Milton has only started 2 more games than Trey Lance. He's played in more games, but he's only started in 2 more games. That is a crazy stat. This is a crazy stat when you look at it. I was doing some studying on this today, and I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy when you look at how many games. Let me put it up on the screen for you. The internet is an amazing thing. And I actually kind of pointed this out yesterday, but let me give it to you in a little bit more detail. Let me see here. So look at this. Tell me this isn't crazy. Trey Lance. And this is Trey Lance's biggest issue. Trey Lance played in a total of 19 games during his college career at North Dakota State, appearing in 2 games in 2018, 16 in 2019, and 1 in 2020. He played 2 games. He started all 16 games in 2019. He played in 1 game against Central Arkansas. That's a total of 19 games. So I don't even know if he started 19 games. That's 16 starting games and 3 games that he played in. I'd have to do a little bit more digging on that part. But again, in totality, that's 19 games. When you look at Joe Milton, it's amazing to me. Joe Milton, I want y'all to put this in your head. Joe Milton has been 6 years in college. He only played 43 college games. And in 43 college games, he only started 21 times. And he lost his job. He got the starting job and then he lost it. He won the starting job. He got hurt. He only played 2 games. Then he played that final season. He started all 12 games. So again, when you think about it, he's at 43 college games, 14 games and 5 starts, 29 games and 16 starts. So he's 21 starts. When you think about it, how many more reps has he had? For a 6-year quarterback? I mean, when we think about Trey Lance was what, 3 years, 2 years? I think Trey Lance was 2 years. He was a 2-year quarterback. Joe Milton, do we not realize he's a 6-year quarterback? He's 25. He's 25 years of age. Trey Lance has been in this league, what, 3 years? Trey Lance has been in this league for a while. I'm just telling us, we got to pump our brakes on this stuff. Joe Milton needs more reps. He needs more reps. And the problem is with needing more reps, he's got 2 obstacles. First, he got to beat out Will Grier. I mean, we're talking about Dak Prescott. He hasn't beat out Will Grier. And I said this when we got Trey Lance. Everybody's talking about Trey Lance. He had to beat out Cooper Rush. Joe Milton is going to have to beat out Will Grier. He is. He's going to have to beat out Will Grier. And I'm telling y'all, I don't know what we're thinking about Will Grier. Will Grier is not going to lay down He's not going to lay down for Joe Milton because everyone is saying that Joe Milton is 6'5", rocket for an arm, elusive in the pocket, blah, 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 blah. And Will Grier is saying, okay, hold my drink because I can play. We don't even know if he's going to beat out Will Grier. We think more than likely he's going to beat out Will Grier. I think more than likely he's going to beat out Will Grier, but we don't know yet. We don't know. But again, I'm just telling you, man, all I'm telling you is fact-based information. I'm not telling you anything that's opinionated. I'm just telling you the facts. Hallelujah. Please put this towards an organ player. I need to hear you over some chords and praise. Appreciate you, hallelujah. Appreciate that super chat. I'm just telling us hallelujah. I'm just telling us the truth. That's all I'm doing. I'm just telling the truth. And when you start telling the truth, people start, oh, you don't like, I love Joe Milton. I love this trade. But can we not put this pressure on this young man, our own expectations on this man, because we want him to take the place of Dak Prescott? Man, people in hell want ice water. They ain't getting it. We don't know what this is going to be. I'm just telling you what I'm hoping it's going to be. I hope we don't see him for 4 years. Because Dak Prescott is the quarterback. And I want Dak Prescott to be successful. I want Dak Prescott to win a Super Bowl. I want him to win one. I don't care who that makes mad. I want Dak Prescott to win a Super Bowl. I do. I want this team to be successful. And if Dak Prescott went down like Tony Romo, God forbid. But if Dak Prescott went down like Tony Romo and Joe Milton comes in and tears it up, takes the Cowboys on some unbelievable 10-game win streak, takes them into the playoffs, takes them to the second round, I'm going to be cheering like a madman for Joe Milton. I'm going to be cheering like a madman for Joe Milton. Why? Because he's a Cowboy. Because he's a Dallas Cowboy. That's why I'm going to cheer for Joe Milton. I'm glad Joe Milton is here. I love the potential that he has, but I'm not going to be like everyone else because I heard this same stuff with Trey Lance. I heard this same type of rhetoric. I saw people busting out the film and showing all the stuff with him and talking about he didn't get a chance. I heard all this stuff. I've already prepared myself for the people who are going to be talking about Joe Milton is tearing it up at training camp. Yeah, I'm ready for it. Training camp is in live bullets. I'm ready for it. I'm preparing myself for it. Dak Prescott better watch out. I'm preparing myself for it because I know how people are, especially the media, because the Dallas Cowboys move the needle. As Mark Holmes say, the Dallas Cowboys move the needle. And the moment you start talking about Dak Prescott, I mean, and the Dallas Cowboys, the moment you start talking like that, man, people go crazy. They love the drama. All I'm going to do is sit back and wait and see. I'm excited for Joe Milton. I'm excited if he wants to be in Dallas. I'm excited he's getting this opportunity. But again, I'm just hoping and praying that he develops. And he can be, because by the time, again, if all things go right with Dak Prescott, by the time he even sees the field, he'll then be 29 years old. Maybe even 30. He might be 29 or 30 years old if Dak Prescott can stay healthy for the next 3 to 4 years. And that is still dependent upon his development and him beating out Will Grier. Let us not discount. He must beat out Will Grier. And the Cowboys, I have a strange feeling. I'm not sure they're going to do what they did with Trey Lance. They didn't even let Cooper Rush play during the preseason. Will Grier needs to play during the preseason. So what we're going to watch in the preseason is a battle between Joe Milton and Will Grier. That's what we're probably going to be watching in the preseason. So I'm here for it and I'm ready for it. But again, Miss Matrix, what's going on with you? Good to see you in here today. James Chapman, what's going on? Sexy Suze, what's going on? Joseph Chapman, what's going on? Appreciate it. He said valid point. I guess he's talking to me. I think you're talking to me. Appreciate it. Skeptical fan, this is a long rant. I'm just giving it to us. I'm just trying to give us all the information on this. Lance can take Herbert's spot. I see you, Brandy. I see you. Roland Rothschild, he said Tony Romo was a walk-on, undrafted. Give all the stats you want. I was not excited about Trey Lance. Man, people talking crazy, Roland, about this man, Trey Lance. They was talking crazy about him. I'm telling you. Leandrew Sims, what's going on? Say it, G. We're still waiting on that. I'm just telling us. But again, we're going to move to Trey Lance.
Here we go.
It's a good segue to move to Trey Lance. Let me tell you something about Trey Lance. I am so happy for Trey Lance. I am absolutely happy for Trey Lance. I told you guys a few weeks ago, one thing the NFL will do, the NFL will chew you up and spit you out. And if you don't meet the expectations, no matter how much talent you have, let me tell you something about Trey Lance. This dude has talent. He does. Trey Lance has talent, absolute talent. But again, talent does not equate into greatness. Talent doesn't equate into greatness. It doesn't. There was an artist one time, a music producer said, there was this artist that was telling him, this rapper was telling him how talented he was. You know what that producer told him? Talent is extra. What do you mean talent is extra? Because there's more than talent that goes into being an artist. Have you ever noticed? Some of the best artists aren't the best singers. I mean, they literally put Milli Vanilli on us. And everybody was singing the praises of Milli Vanilli until they figured out they were not singing. Why? What was going on? They had the look. They had the dance moves. They had the talent. They couldn't sing. But they had all the other stuff that what you would want in an artist, except for the voice. And somebody said, we can manufacture that. We can let somebody else sing and just let you lip sync. You have to be able to put all that stuff together. You ever notice some of the greatest artists? What do they have? They not only have the singing ability, they not only have the talent of playing instruments, they have the look. They have the aura of an artist. And so there's just more to it. Even when you're talking about playing football, there's more to it than just being talented. And Trey Lance is a talented kid. But in order to sharpen those tools, in order to refine his craft, he's got to get more reps. And unfortunately for him, Trey Lance is caught in a cycle of he can't get on a team that says, hey, Trey Lance, we understand you have a lot of talent. We're going to let you just play for a whole season. And we're just going to start building our team. And in the meanwhile, we'll see what you look like in a year or two. And if you look good, then all the things that we've put around you, we'll sign you to a contract. And then you can go on and have your career. But again, a lot of these teams in the league, they want to win now. And because they want to win now, they don't have the time for a kid like Trey Lance to develop. Man, they don't have time for that. They don't have time. And this is one of the reasons why, even when you think about Joe Milton III, while people are looking at his body type, the rocket arm, and all these things, and everybody's oohing and ahhing, well, why didn't people in the league say, hey, why didn't Seattle say, hey, let us have Joe Milton. We'll give you a third. Why didn't the Raiders say, rather than bringing on Geno Smith and then before he even hits the field, giving him an $85.5 million quarterback extension? Why didn't they just say, hey, we'll bring on Joe Milton III. He's still on a rookie contract. Why didn't they say it? I don't think we ask the right questions sometimes. And they didn't say the same thing about Trey Lance. They didn't say, hey, Trey Lance got talent. Let's bring him on. Let him develop. No. Now Trey Lance, and this ain't no chump change. He got a $6.2 million deal. I'd love to see what the guarantee is because I'm pretty sure it's not worth that. You can already tell. It says a 1-year deal worth up to $6.2 million. They had said that Cooper Rush had signed an $8 million deal. Now we realize it's a $6 million deal. So you always got to look at what that guaranteed money is. But here's Trey Lance. Trey Lance and Taylor Heineke are now behind starting quarterback Justin Herbert. So now Trey Lance, he has an opportunity. Can he fight his way to the number 2 spot? He's got another opportunity. Can he do it? And you think about him. These quarterbacks, will Joe Milton, will he not be like Trey Lance? Will he turn out different? Because look at Trey Lance. It says it's been a challenging journey in the NFL for Lance. The former number 3 overall pick in the 2021 draft by the San Francisco 49ers, once viewed as the potential franchise quarterback in the Bay Area, Lance struggled to find his footing amid injuries and competition on the depth chart. After falling out of favor with the 49ers, he was traded to the Cowboys in 2023 in exchange for a 4th-round pick. Says he spent most of his time as a 3rd-string quarterback. His only real opportunity, similar to Joe Milton III, his only real opportunity came in the regular season finale with the Cowboys already eliminated from the playoff contention. And again, we can't make the same argument for Trey Lance, but Trey Lance looked a lot better in the final game. He looked a lot better in that final game against the Washington Commanders, and he almost pulled it off had it not been for a crazy throw to the corner by Marcus Mariota. He almost pulled it off. But again, this league will eat you up and spit you out, and if you don't meet expectations, especially when you get that second opportunity, man, you'll be a third-string quarterback for the rest of your career, unless you get lucky and you get somebody to, you get later in your career, somebody gets hurt and you get an opportunity late in your career and boom, you've developed and you look pretty good and now you're just a bridge quarterback. So we'll see the story on one Joe Milton. Again, I'm happy for Trey Lance. I'm glad they did not ship Trey Lance, man. This story, when they was talking about shipping this dude to the Canadian Football League, man, I was just like, man, no. Because people say if you go to the Canadian League and tear it up, everybody's not Warren Moon, guys. Everybody not Warren Moon up in this piece. Everybody not Warren Moon. But again, what's going on, Leandrew Sims? What's up? Let me go down here to the bottom. Drew 912, he says, why are you putting Joe Milton down? Drew 912. What? I don't understand what you're saying. How can you put someone down, Drew, if you're telling the truth? Now, Drew, the reason why I brought this up about the Buffalo Bills is because it needs to be said. That's number one. Number two, somebody said that I said he was playing against backups like it wasn't true. So the reason why I came back and said that is the context need to be given that Joe Milton was playing against backups. And that is not hating on Joe Milton. That's telling the truth. They said that days before the game was played. Now, again, Drew 912, when people are now showing the tape and they keep showing that throw against the Buffalo Bills, you have to bring it back to people's remembrance. Because people are looking at that tape, Drew. They're looking at that tape saying this dude is this, that, and the other, not understanding, dude, he was playing against the Buffalo Bills. They had nothing to play for. They were using it as a bye week. They didn't start, they didn't start 60 to 70% of their defense. So when you look at that tape, Drew, do you not think it's important that when you're looking at that tape, do you not think it's important to understand the context of that? So that you don't look at that, and this is why the scouts do this type of work. The scouts are not listening to YouTubers. The scouts are not listening to people on X. The scouts are doing what I did, Brian Broaddus did, Vosh Lombardi did. We're looking at the tape and also understanding who he's playing against. Who he's playing against. So it had to be said. And telling the truth is not putting him down. It gave Milton a chance to play and get experience. That's exactly what you want, Drew. But understand, we should not be presenting that tape. We don't present that tape, Drew, like some people are. You do not present that tape, Drew, because if you do that, you're disingenuous. If you go and show somebody that tape of Joe Milton and don't say a word other than, man, this dude right here, look at what he did to the Buffalo Bills. Knowing what the Buffalo Bills was this year, what they did to the doggone Baltimore Ravens, what they almost did to the Kansas City Chiefs, you would be disingenuous if you showed someone that tape and then say, now keep in mind, man, the Buffalo Bills, last game of the season, nothing to play for, rested eight defensive players on their defense, so he's not looking at the type of defense, because that's what needs to be pointed out. Even Matty Dubs in that particular clip, he's not pointing out how wide open those guys are. It's great to show, yeah, does he have a look? We know all this stuff about him already. We know he's elusive. We know he's got a rocket arm. We know all of that. But we if we're going to make that play into the highlight play, can we please give it some context? Now, if you call that hating, brother, I don't know what else to tell you. I didn't know the truth was I didn't know the truth was hating. Roland Rothschild said, "Oh, you a soothsayer." I'm just speaking facts. That's all I'm doing. Miss Matrix, she said, Brandy, when I was in person when Lance threw 5 picks in that preseason game. She said, I got so mad like it was a real game. Skeptical fan, I knew who you were talking about. I'm awake. He said, even if Dak wasn't a fan of the move, he'll remain humble. He's down to earth. Yeah. And again, I'm awake. Let me tell you, I believe Dak is in his own world right now. I think that the only thing Dak is trying to figure out is how did he get back and don't get hurt. Mark said, dang, he said, that's a great point right there, big dog. All I'm doing is pointing out the facts, Mark. You have to, because I don't want to be one of these people that just sensationalizes stuff. Man, I'm excited about Joe Milton like everybody else. But I also have to keep it in context and understand. We've been here before. And here he is. We've been here before. And people crowned him as the next coming. And it didn't turn out. And I just wish the media is free speech. But I really do wish I could tell them to shut their mouth. I do. I wish I could tell them to shut your mouth about Joe Milton. Let this kid come in here and learn and develop. And let's see what he is. Rather than putting stuff out into the universe. Yeah, Joe Milton is going to replace Dak Prescott. Man, shut that noise down. It's crazy nonsense noise. It's dumb. It's dumb talk. If we want to talk about how good he can be, let's talk about how good he can be. But when we start talking all these old dumb stuff, he going to replace Dak Prescott. Man, just stop this stuff. It's just crazy nonsense. It's just nonsense. Robert Dudley, he said Danny White, 3 NFC championships in a row. Robert Dudley. That one in 1982 got me, man. That one in 1982, boy, I cried, and I cried over that one, man. Mark, he said this deal with Milton feels totally different. He said that's such a dope point. I'm telling this, man, Milton has an opportunity, but we got to slow down on him. And I'm glad the Cowboys aren't listening to this noise either. They know what they know. Just listen to Brian Schottenheimer. He talked about Milton, Tolbert, Mingo. And he said they all got traits. Y'all remember when Brian Schottenheimer said this? He said they all have traits. He said, and in those traits, we got to figure out, so what do we do to get them to the next step? That's what they're looking at. And believe me when I tell you, they're looking at the same thing with Dak Prescott. They're looking at Dak Prescott and they're saying, because I'm just going to tell you what I would be doing. If I'm a Dallas Cowboy, if I'm one of the Dallas Cowboys guys in the scout room, I'm going back and I'm going to look at all of the playoff games that Dak Prescott has played. I'm going to look at all the playoff games. And what I want to know, looking at the Dak Prescott playoff games, I want to know the who, what, where, when, why, and how. I want to know, what is it? What is it? What is it that stopped us from winning that game? Why didn't we win that game? What did the people do around Dak Prescott? What did the personnel look like? And not only what did our personnel look like. See, this is the argument that I hear a lot of people make that doesn't make sense to me. Brother, the brother last night said something, man, and I love what he said. I forgot which guy it was, but he made the comment about the when you're used to eating saltine crackers. And then when you get Ritz crackers, you think you've really made a step. Meanwhile, you eating Ritz crackers and everyone else is eating filet mignon and steak. But because you've only had saltine, when you step up the Ritz, boy, you feel like you've done it. And you think about us. We will say Dak has had enough around him. Which perspective are you saying that from? Because if I'm looking at this team and I'm looking over the years of, okay, we've been to this many playoff games and we're 2-5. So what's the issue? So I want to look at the personnel we had, but then I also want to look at who were the personnel we were going up against. Were we better, man for man for man? Were we better than the personnel we went up against? If I put a chart up of the starting offense and the starting defense, if I put that chart up and I go man for man, was our wide receiver better than their cornerback? Or if I just take my own offense and I take their offense, was our wide receiver better than their wide receiver 1? Was our wide receiver 2 better than their wide receiver 3? Wide receiver 2. Was our 3 better than their 3? And across the line, what did our line look like versus their line? Quarterback versus their quarterback. Running game versus their running game. I'm evaluating all of this. I'm going to put my defense against their defense. Were we better than them? Defense on defensive line, defensive backs, linebackers. And then I'm going to take our offense against their defense. And then I want to look at the matchups and say, okay, in this game, when I look at the matchups fresh right now in my mind, if I look at those players and I look at the matchup, were we better than this team? There's a difference in having a good team and having the best team. There's a difference. Dak Prescott has been on some good teams. But he hasn't been on teams that when I think about Troy Aikman in the 90s, I'm telling y'all, for any of you who are not old enough to remember this experience, we have not had this experience even with Dak Prescott. When we lined up against teams in 92, 93, maybe not 94, but in 95, when we lined up against teams, you know what we thought? We're better than them. Better than them. At every position, we thought we were better than them. And you know what we never talked about? And I keep saying this, and I know we didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about Troy Aikman. Not like we talk about quarterbacks today. We didn't talk about Troy Aikman. We didn't. Now, when you talked about the San Francisco 49ers, you would be talking about Steve Young. He got to get the monkey off his back. He's made the transition from Joe Montana. You talk about the Buffalo Bills, you would be talking about how great Jim Kelly is, coming from the USFL, and now he's a gunslinger, and he's this, and he's that, and he's that. But that's not how you talked about the Cowboys. No, we didn't talk about Troy Aikman. We talked about the team. We talked about Troy, Emmett, Mike, the line, the defense, Darren Woodson. I mean, we talked about how good the team was. We totally went away from that now. Now what do? We talk about Dak Prescott, Michael Parsons, maybe Trayvon Diggs, maybe Deron Bland. We talk about players. It's amazing to me we don't talk about the team. We didn't do this when Tony Romo was here. We don't do this now that Dak Prescott is here, but we did this in the 90s. We did. And this is one of the biggest problems we've had. We just haven't had teams. And when I talk about teams, I'm not just talking about the doggone quarterback and the players on the field. I'm talking about all the way from the coaching staff down. The 90s were good from the coaching staff down. And when you look at Super Bowl teams, have you ever noticed what they are? They are good from the GM, from the owner to the GM down. We're not built like that. And we haven't been built like that since Jimmy Johnson left. When Jimmy Johnson left, that was the beginning of the end of how the Cowboys were built to win championships. We have not been built to win a championship since Jimmy Johnson left in 93, 94, and nobody wants to admit it. Instead, we just keep lying to ourselves. And every time we get a quarterback, and even when we get the next quarterback, we're going to be saying the same thing about him if we don't finally get this right and start building teams all the way from the front office down. You don't build teams from the quarterback down. You build teams from the front office down. Front office down. And our front office has been terrible for 30 years. Has been. Roland Rothschild, he said Trey Lance is a fundamentally flawed quarterback. He is. And this is what we have to work on with one Joe Milton. Joe Milton has the arm. He has the talent. He's got to get the fundamentals. Because the best players are always good at the fundamentals. They are. Ori, he said we just need Joe to step up when Dak hurt again. We'll see. Because it may be Will Grier. It may be Will Grier. Again, he's got to beat Will Grier. We're just jumping over Will Grier. Will Grier's going to have something to say about this. Aggie Pride for Life, he said Danny White got us to a championship game. A few of them, please let him beat Danny White, man. Boy, and Aggie, let me tell you, I cried over Danny White's last playoff loss. I cried. I did. I cried. Cowboy fan for life. He said, I enjoyed watching your content. Go Cowboys. Appreciate you. Sexy Suze, Jerry was real stealthy with that one. Oh, I agree with Ice Cold Cowboy. He said, hit that like button. I appreciate it. Aggie said he just turned 25. We're talking about Joe Milton, turned 25. And again, you think about it. 25? And you're a second-year quarterback? I'm just saying, people don't realize, man, you don't typically be that old by the time you come to the league. We get these anomalies. I think like Michael Penix was a little bit older coming in, but he's got some catching up to do. The reason why people were so high on Trey Lance is that Trey Lance, when the Cowboys got him, he was still what? 22, somewhere in there, 22, 23. He might have been 22 when the Cowboys got him. So a lot of people were really up on him. But again, as you begin to get older, and it's not that 25 is old. It's the fact that when you're talking about a young quarterback and he's trying to get that starting job and he's 25, that's a little bit different. That's a little bit different. Skeptical fan said, even if Milton takes Prescott's job, Prescott is still going to get paid the same wage. Dak isn't going anywhere soon. Skeptical fan. Skeptical fan, let me paint a picture that's crazy. So, if the Cowboys would have let Dak Prescott go, Dak Prescott's still going to get paid. And Dak Prescott will have the opportunity to play somewhere else. And not only will he have the opportunity to play somewhere else, he might even be able to pick a team that's loaded. You just never know. Dak Prescott wins in this either way. I'm telling you, Dak isn't worried. He's not worried because the bag is secure. The bag is secure. Dak has shown us when healthy. There is no arguing this. When Dak is healthy, double-digit wins. Double-digit wins. So most teams will take that. I mean, we're complaining about that because we want to win a championship, and I understand why we're complaining about that in a sense. But at the same time, man, most teams would kill to have to have the winning record they've had with Dak Prescott. They would. And some teams might even be willing to put more around him. Roland Rothschild, he said, you're not really glad Joe Milton is with the Cowboys. Man, I tell you I am. Roland, let me tell you something. I saw this kid in the preseason with the New England Patriots, and I was like, wow, this dude is like got some talent. Oh, I'm glad he's with the Cowboys. What I'm not glad about, Roland, is I don't like every time we get a doggone quarterback, somebody starts talking about he better than the doggone starter. Man, he gotta beat the backup first. Brady said we got Lance 2.0. I'm not gonna go that far, but I'm just saying. Joe Milton. And I do think for whatever reason, and I don't really even have enough to go off this on, but I'm just saying this, and this is an opinion. I think Joe Milton has more of an upside than Trey Lance. I do think he has more of an upside than one Trey Lance. I do. I think he has a lot more potential than Trey Lance. I do. For whatever reason, I do. And I don't really have anything to go off of because the reality is this simple. Trey Lance has as much starting quarterback tape as Joe Milton. And if it's not, what is it about? Two games? What is he beating him by? 2 games? So I just got to see what he is. And I'm ready to see what he is. I think it's going to be exciting during training camp. I think it's going to be exciting during the preseason. I'm ready for it. Those backups may not be starters, but they play hard. I agree with you there, Drew, but there is a reason why they are starters, and it goes both ways. There's a reason why quarterbacks are starters and not starters. Mark, I can say he's better than Lance, and you can too. The issue is, though, if we're being honest, what are we basing that on? What are we basing it on that he's better than Trey Lance? Because there's a reason why Trey Lance was the number 1 draft. I mean, people were trying to do all kinds of things to get Trey Lance. It's because of how dominant he was in that short period of time in college. This is what got him the number 1. I mean, so I got a feeling, Mark, he's better than Trey Lance. I do. I have a feeling he's better than Trey Lance, but I want to see more. I just got to see more. Ori says Lance wasn't good anyway. And again, we got to see more on Milton. And I think we're going to get a good dose of him in the preseason. But again, get ready. We're going to get a dose of Will Grier too. Skeptical. Boy, skeptical fan, you killing me, boy. Skeptical fans had my expectations of Rob Bill joined for 20 years watching the Cowboys. And let me tell you, this is why a lot of Cowboy fans are so bent out of shape, because we got 3 in the 90s. We got 3 in the 90s, and we've had a couple of teams. We've had a team under the Tony Romo tenure. No, we had 2 teams under the Tony Romo tenure that disappointed us. And I think we've probably had 3 teams that disappointed us under the Dak tenure. But if you go back and look at those seasons, and then you look at the teams that made the Super Bowl, we were not better than those teams. That's the stuff you have to look at. See, we look at things in a vacuum sometimes, and we're saying, well, we think our team was good enough. No, they were not. They were not good enough. The team that won the Super Bowl was good enough. And if you look at that team that won the Super Bowl, you'll find out something, that we were not as good as those teams, and we were nowhere close. Just like this year, we were nowhere close to the Eagles. Rolling. You know what? We might be able to make this argument too, but I think we're going to have to see a little bit more. Joe says he has a much higher football IQ than Trey Lance. I got to see a little bit more, but I won't argue against it. I will not argue against it. But I think we got to see some more. We got to see some more with Joe Milton. And this is it, Brandy. We got to give him a chance. That's it. Just watch. Just watch. Watching will tell us everything we need to know. Watching will tell us everything we need to know. And even then, keep this in your mind. Joe Milton is still suffering from the same thing Trey Lance suffered from. Trey Lance didn't have the reps. He just didn't have the reps. Now, Trey Lance unfortunately got the opportunity with the San Francisco 49ers, and then he got the Dak Prescott injury. I'm telling you, I was furious when Trey Lance got that injury. I mean, I want to see him succeed. Even if he wasn't going to be with the Cowboys, I want to see him succeed. Because when you see a kid that's got that kind of talent, man, you want them to succeed. At least I do. You want them to succeed. It's the same thing with Joe Milton. I want Joe Milton to succeed. I do. I want Joe Milton come in, develop, and become a great quarterback. And when Dak is done, he becomes the quarterback. I love it. Why not? Mark, one thing I've noticed about great quarterbacks, they play within themselves and throw the ball with hardly any effort. I think Milton has those qualities. Still needs to be developed regardless. Now, that's the key. What do they look like in the live bullets? Unfortunately, the Buffalo Bills game is not a good sample. It's a sample. Let's not discount it. It's a sample. It's not a good sample. I would have loved to see Joe Milton going at it with something on the line. Because that's actually what you want to see. You want to see him play when there's something to play for. When there's, because that's when you're going to see what he's made of. Not just athletically, you get to see what he's made of mentally. But when you go into a game and you already know the other team has set down 8 of their starters, come on, man. I mean, it's not that you're not playing, but you also understand, man, they're not playing the starters today. You already know that you're going to have a chance to, I'm going to have a chance to ball today. This is not the Buffalo Bills' main defense. So, Ori, Dallas can still draft a quarterback this draft. You know what? I'm not going to be surprised if they do draft a quarterback. I think it won't be this season, but I'm not going to be surprised if they draft a quarterback in 2027. I'm not going to be surprised because, again, Joe Milton will be 27 by that time. So, not saying he'll be old, but he'll be old. I mean, he'll be 27. And by that time, you'll be having to decide, we control him for 3 years. And if he don't get on the field, he'll be just like Trey Lance. And what I mean by he'll be like Trey Lance, the Cowboys are not picking up that 5th-year option. I'll be shocked unless he's just balling, unless they've seen a good sample size of some way that he's gotten in some games, he's won some meaningful games. I doubt they'll do that 5th-year option. I doubt they'll do it. And by the time, and he'll be at an age by then that the Cowboys won't pick up the 5th-year option, and then they'll circle the block and then see if they can sign him cheap. Same way they did Trey Lance. Because again, if everything goes according to plan, we're not going to see him. We're not going to see him. Unless the Cowboys work him in and say, you'll be our tush-push quarterback, or we'll put you in on 4th and 1, some weird gadget play. But other than that, you won't see him. Maybe they bring him in at the end of a game to throw the Hail Mary. Maybe they bring him in right before halftime to throw the Hail Mary. But other than that, you won't see him. You won't see him. They won't be working him in drives. I'll be shocked if they do stuff like that. They will not be working him in drives, especially in the first 2 seasons, I would imagine. They won't be doing that stuff. So if everything goes right, you won't even see him. And that, unfortunately, is the very thing that stops the progress. It is. It's the very thing that stops the progress. So I'm glad we got Joe Milton. I want to see. I'm very excited to see what he does. I think he's going to be great in training camp. I think he's going to be great in the preseason. I think the Cowboys are going to give him plenty of opportunity to play. They're going to try to give him probably a little extra time to develop because Will Grier, I think we kind of know what Will Grier is, even though they'll probably give Will Grier some time. I'm not sure they're going to give him the Trey Lance treatment to where he'll basically play the entire preseason. because they're not trying to put pressure on Dak Prescott like they were trying to do with Trey Lance. So I think he'll get some playing time, and we'll get to see some good stuff from him. So again, let's pump the brakes on Joe Milton. Let's get excited for what he is right now. Hope that he can develop, and then when we need him, he'll be up for the challenge again. And that is still predicated on beating Will Grier. We got to stop jumping. We got to stop jumping the second string quarterback. Will Grier is going to. I'm telling you, Will Grier is going to be ready to play for the Cowboys too. Will Grier, we saw what he looked like in the last preseason game with the Dallas Cowboys, with Dak Prescott calling plays, and boy, Will Grier looked off the chart. So we'll see what he looks like. Going against Will Grier, because I think they're going to probably limit Dak Prescott and probably turn him up as they get closer to the season. But I think these quarterbacks are going to get a lot of opportunities to get some reps in. But we'll see. We'll see, depending upon how Dak is progressing. Law Nation blessed us with a couple of videos, so he's looking pretty good for all intents and purposes. So we'll just see what he is. All right, let's go on to our next topic. Let's switch gears. Man, there is a mock draft out here. There is a mock draft out here that actually has me like, that really has me tripping. Because I was talking about this the other day when we were talking about the draft. And let me see here. Let me move this over to the big screen. There is a mock draft out here I want to bring to y'all's attention. Yeah, there's a mock draft by Tom Fornelli on CBS Sports. Let me see if I can bring it up. I mean, I got it over here on this one screen, but I want to bring it to, okay, yeah, here it is. I don't know if y'all have seen this. Boy, this thing right here. I talked about this. I don't think it's going to happen because I've been seeing a little bit of buzz around Shedeur Sanders' pro day. But I've already told y'all before, I'm different than most people. Pro days mean nothing to me. I mean, Brian Schottenheimer talked about how Phillip Rivers, when he asked Phillip Rivers, how do you think you did today in your pro day? Phillip Rivers just basically said, I killed it. I could have did that pro day with my eyes closed. Well, of course he could, because I understand why people get excited, but again, I don't understand, because they rehearse these pro days over and over and over and over and over. I mean, I'm telling you, they are probably in their sleep during those pro days. So that by the time the real pro day come up, unless there's some kind of hiccup, they look exactly the way they're supposed to look. There's no live bullets. They're just doing drills and stuff like that. So they're supposed to look good. That's the whole point of it. It's designed for them to look good. And so a lot of people have been saying there is some buzz around Shedeur Sanders' pro day. I don't need to see Shedeur Sanders' pro day. I'm not a big college football fan, but I'm a big Deion Sanders fan. And so I watch Colorado Buffalo football, and Shedeur Sanders, I saw what he is. Shedeur Sanders is going to be good. If they get him the players, Sanders is going to be good. He really is. Good ball placement, throws a very good ball, mobile enough. He's not the one with the speed. Actually, Shiloh is the one with the speed. Now, he don't have his daddy's speed, but he's got some. Shiloh is the one with the speed, but Shedeur, he can move in the pocket and he can make some runs when needed. But Shedeur Sanders, for all intents and purposes, I'm not comparing him to Dak Prescott, but believe me when I tell you this, he don't run nowhere near as good as Dak Prescott ran when Dak Prescott came out of college. But I do think his ball placement coming out of college is better than Dak Prescott's ball placement was when Dak Prescott came out of college. The thing about Dak Prescott, he's had to work, and he hasn't minded putting in the work to be the quarterback that he is. Some of the stuff with Shedeur Sanders, he's been working on this for so long, and I think some of it is natural too. But Shedeur, I think he's going to be a good quarterback. But again, they better put some weapons around him, and that's every quarterback. But if you look at Shedeur Sanders, man, he flourished because he had a lot of offensive weapons. So there is a mock draft over here that I want to call to your attention. And the reason why I'm talking about Shedeur Sanders is because it's like the scenario I talked about, that what if Shedeur Sanders falls out of the top 5? Because if Shedeur Sanders falls out of the top 5, then that shakes up the entire draft in front of the Dallas Cowboys. It's what I call a ripple effect. Because if they don't get Shedeur, then someone else who wasn't looking at Shedeur, then they may consider getting Shedeur. And so this is what they're talking about. They're saying the Giants, Jaguars trade out of the top 5. Shedeur Sanders falls back to the back half of round 1. Now, the Giants are important to Shedeur Sanders. The Giants are very important to Shedeur Sanders. The Giants are very important to Shedeur Sanders because if they don't get him, what team needs a quarterback? What team needs a quarterback behind the Giants? Because that would mean that then he would have to rely upon that if the Giants don't get him, well, the Patriots aren't going to do it. The Jaguars aren't going to do it. The Raiders could do it, but they just signed Geno Smith, so he would be sitting behind Geno Smith a couple of years. The Jets could do it. I wonder if Deion Sanders would maybe try to, because I would be fighting hard not to go to them doggone Jets. The Jets to me are quarterback killers. I just couldn't go to, I'm sorry, I just couldn't go to the Jets. But again, there is a possibility that if the Giants do not get Shedeur Sanders could tumble down the draft because these other teams, they don't need quarterbacks. Again, unless it would be the Jets. The Saints do have Derek Carr, unless they would be willing to get him, but he'd have to sit down again. The Cowboys are not going to get Shedeur Sanders. They got Dak Prescott wrapped up in a $231 million deal. So who would he go to? Who would get Shedeur Sanders if Shedeur Sanders drops out of the top 5? Now, I had already said this before. This is one of the things that I had talked about, because if I was one of these top teams, I might trade out of the top 5. And if I'm the New York Giants, I got Russell Wilson, I got Jameis Winston. The quarterback draft coming up next year is going to be way better. Man, I might absolutely, if I were the Giants, man, I'd get Ashton Genty. I would get Ashton Genty, and I'm rolling. I am. If I'm the Giants, I'm replacing I'm replacing the mistake I made with Saquon Barkley. I'm going to make up for that mistake, and I'm going to get the next generational running back, or at least that's what people are calling him, the next generational running back. And so when you look at round 1, Cam Ward is the undisputed number 1 draft pick in this draft on most people's boards. Travis Hunter to the Cleveland Browns. I could absolutely see that, but I'd be shocked if they don't get Abdul Carter. Boy, let me tell you, if the Cleveland Browns got Travis Hunter, boy, you talking about a scramble. Nobody's giving up. I don't think anybody's giving up Abdul Carter. Because I think when people look at Abdul Carter, they think they're looking at Michael Parsons 2.0. I don't think anybody's passing up Abdul Carter. So if Cleveland were to go to Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter would go to Carolina. So Will Campbell, because this is the ripple effect, because now everybody's going to change what they're doing. Armand would go to the 49ers. I think Genty is going to the Raiders if he makes it past the Giants, and this is the main reason why I don't believe the Cowboys are going to get Genty. There is no way he makes it past both the Giants and the Raiders. Mason Graham to the Jets. And I thought this was very interesting because this would absolutely be a great move for the Giants if they didn't decide to get Genty. It's showing that the Giants would get Teterow McMillan. That would take away both of the first-round draft picks that most of us are either projecting or we're wanting the Cowboys to get. I think most of the Cowboy fans are wanting the Cowboys in the first round to either get McMillan or Ashton Genty. And I think most of us are just praying for Ashton Genty. But I don't think Genty's going to be there. Now, I'm pretty sure most of us are thinking the same thing. Genty isn't going to be there. Intelligent fan, what's going on, my brother? I think most of us are thinking the same thing. So then it says, if you keep going down, I said this the other day, and I'm telling y'all, I will not be surprised if the Cowboys make this move. Now, they have Matthew Golden. This is actually not the one I wanted to look at. The one I was looking at is, I don't think the Cowboys are going to get Matthew Golden. This is the wrong one. I don't think the Cowboys are going to get I don't think they're going to get Matthew Golden. I think the Cowboys, I'm just telling y'all, do not be shocked. If you look at the tape, Matthew Golden does not play at 4.29 speed. I'm not sure if it's the routes. I'm not sure if it's the route concepts, the plays, but you would think that Texas didn't even know that Matthew Golden ran a 4.29 because that's not how they played him. They didn't play him like that. You would think he ran a 4.5. That's what you would think Matthew Golden ran. And Matthew Golden has really moved up he's really pushed up his draft stock because he ran that 4.29. But the reality is, I'm going to tell you again who I think the Cowboys may get. And I know there are some people who do not like this. I'm just telling you. I think the Cowboys may very well wind up with Luther Burden III. I do. I do, and I know some of us don't like it. I would not be surprised if the Cowboys wind up with Luther Burden III. Let me tell y'all something about Luther Burden III, man. This dude right here, Luther Burden III, if you want to talk about the most complete wide receiver and the most explosive wide receiver, it is not Teterow McMillan. It's not Teterow McMillan. It's not. I think Teterow McMillan may be the best pure wide receiver in this draft. The best wide receiver in this draft, I believe, is Luther Burden III when you're talking about explosiveness. I think it's Luther Burden III. I do. Luther Burden III is a monster. Luther Burden III is an absolute monster. When you look at the tape on this guy, Luther Burden III is crazy with it. When you talk about route running, explosiveness, the moves, the body fakes, the head fakes, the ankle breaks, he breaks ankles. When you look at the way he runs very violently when he gets the ball in his hands. Luther Burden III, I will not be surprised I would not be surprised, and that was the wrong mock draft. But again, it has to do with this issue of Shedeur Sanders either falling out and Tedera and Genty being gone. And again, I'll be good. I like Emeka Egbuka. I'm just telling you, though. This dude, Luther Burden III, is a home run hitter. Bar none. Bar none. Luther Burden III is a home run hitter. And he's a 6 foot tall receiver. I'm just telling y'all, I will not be surprised if the Cowboys pick him up. I will not. It says here the Cowboys desperately need weaponry outside of CeeDee Lamb. Pro Football Focus writes, they may miss out on McMillan in this mock draft, but select the next best wideout on PFF's big board in Burden. Burden is the I'm just telling you. Tedera McMillan, this is no knock on Tedera McMillan. He is what he is. Tedera McMillan, you're going to get what you expect. A pure wide receiver. Big wide receiver, Spider-Man hands, route running, easy to see in the zones, is going to be absolutely fantastic in the red zone. You're going to get all of that with Tedera McMillan. You're going to get all of that. What you're not going to get with Tedera McMillan, at least not very often, you're not going to get the explosiveness. You're not going to get him just beating people off the line. You're not going to get him when he gets the ball in the open field, making guys miss. He's not going to make 2 or 3 guys miss. You're going to see some acrobatic catches. You're going to be able to see some of those things. But when I talk about explosiveness, the way he gets off the ball, the way he explodes when he gets the ball in his hands, the moves that he makes, you're not going to get that with Tedera McMillan. Taller wide receiver, long stride, and don't get me wrong, 4.5. I think that's his real speed. I think he ran like a 4.47 or something. I thought in his pro day, or it's something that he ran. He's improved his 40 time, but that means absolutely nothing because what we're talking about is football speed. And when you look at the tape on Tedera McMillan, when you look at Tedera McMillan, you look at him and you shake your head and go, yep, he's good. Them Spider-Man hands, wow, yeah, man, whoo, student catch. Spider-Man hands, he's a problem for defensive backs in general because he's 6'4", 6'5". But boy, when you look at Luther Burden III, all you do is go, wow, 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 wow. Move after move after move after move. Man, this dude, Luther Burden III, is the truth. Now, I've heard some people talk about he's got some attitude issues. So that could be something that may make the Cowboys run away from him. But in some of these mock drafts, they have Luther Burden III falling to the Cowboys. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to be mad at it if they get him. I'm just not going to be mad. Y'all tell me what you think. I am not going to be mad if the Cowboys get Luther Burden III. I'm just not going to be mad about it. Luther Burden III is the truth. I really do. I really do. It says right here, it says, given his agility and speed. Okay, let me go back here. Given his agility and speed, Burden III has the potential to be a yak merchant. And if the Cowboys get Luther rolling with quick passes to let him do his thing in open space, big gains can be made. Big gains. And it says he's no McMillan. But Burden III could become quite the explosive weapon for Dak in Brian Schottenheimer's offense in 2025. He's explosive. He's explosive. Now, the most explosive wide receiver in this draft is Savion Williams to me. Hands down. Savion Williams is the most explosive. But when I look at the explosiveness with the hands, with the route running, with the moves, Savion got him too. He runs violent too. He runs violent, he runs big, and he runs faster than his 40 time, just like Luther Burden III does. Boy, Luther Burden III is a magician out there, man. I'm just telling us. Luther Burden III is a magician out there. Y'all tell me what you think on that, but they're saying that Luther Burden III could fall to the Cowboys. And I can just tell you up front, I will not be mad. I will not be mad. I'm going to wait. Y'all talking about Joe Milton. I'm just telling this. We're talking about Joe Milton. I didn't put Joe Milton down one time. All I did was tell the facts on Joe Milton. That's it. All I did was tell the facts. We just need to wait and see on Joe Milton. And what we need to be more concerned with is our present. Dak Prescott getting back to being the starting quarterback. Oh, man. Boy, that boy Warren Moon. Whoo! Warren Moon, Mark, that boy was serious too. That boy was serious. Serious. L.A. Dot, I appreciate it. He ain't put nobody down. Our fan base hate the truth. We all want Milton to live up to the potential. That's it. Because I'm telling you, up front, I love Dak Prescott as our quarterback. Let me tell you this. If the Cowboys would have traded Dak Prescott, you think I was trading teams? If the Dallas Cowboys would have let Dak Prescott walk, I wasn't walking with Dak Prescott. I would have checked out Dak Prescott from time to time. But my focus would have been on the Dallas Cowboys and Trey Lance. That's where my focus would have been. It matters to me who the quarterback is. But if the Cowboys decide that Dak Prescott's not the man no more, guess what? I'm still a Cowboys fan. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing I can do about it if they let go of Dak Prescott. I mean, there's nothing I can do. I mean, I could be mad about it, but again, I wouldn't talk about it the whole season. I would be done. Hey, Dak Prescott's gone. I would report time to time if he went and won and blah, blah, blah. Hey, it is what it is. But other than that, no, I'm a Cowboys fan. And Burden is on this team, and I want Burden to be successful. Because, again, Burden could be exactly what we're looking for. He could be, because I'm sorry, I don't know why anyone else wouldn't be hoping this. It's just like having burial insurance. Well, you don't want to use it tomorrow, do you? You don't want to use burial insurance tomorrow. No. You got a spare tire in your car. Well, you don't want to use the spare tire. It's not what you want to do. No. Because in reality, that's what your backup quarterbacks are. The backups are supposed to be for emergencies. You want your starting quarterback to stay healthy. I don't want Dak Prescott to have another injury the next 4 years. Not even a hangnail. Oh, I don't know if it's going to happen. But I don't want Dak Prescott to have another injury. Not even a doggone cold. I don't want him to. I want Dak Prescott to be successful. But if it came down to it, I'm a Cowboys fan. I liked Tony Romo. Does anybody not realize? There was a lot of us who liked Tony Romo. I was actually, when Tony Romo went down, I felt bad. And the reason why I felt bad is because it seemed like the Cowboys had finally kind of got it together around Tony Romo bringing in Ezekiel Elliott. Man, I had no clue who Dak Prescott was. Now, I started seeing him in the preseason. I was like, man, this dude's pretty good. But I never thought that he was going to take Tony Romo's spot. Tony Romo got hurt. I didn't know what to think about him. I didn't know what to think about Dak Prescott. All I know is he just kept winning. And so when the Cowboys went with him, I went with him. He's the quarterback now. Same thing with, if it happened with Joe Milton, it happened. The angry Cowboys fan, he said, I'm thinking about his mechanics in that game and not what he can do against the first string squad. Now, you think about this, angry fan. One of the things that Brian Broder said when he watched the tape, Vach Lombardi is saying some of the same things. When you watch the tape, people show the good throws. But also when you look at that tape, there were throws where the receivers had to stop or they had to slow down or whatever the case may be when it came to where the ball was going to be delivered. And that's one of the reasons why Vach kind of said, he don't always know where the ball is going. So it's obvious when you look at the tape and you're being truthful with yourself, he just needs some work. Just needs some work. That's all he needs. We don't have to, and again, I'm not going to put Joe Milton III down. I'm telling you, the potential, man, is exciting. The potential is exciting, and if he can turn out to be who we want him to be, I'm ecstatic. I am ecstatic. But again, I just can't stand how we just put so much pressure. And the pressure, I'm not so much is on the players. We give our own fan base anxiety. I'm just telling you like it is. We give our own fan base anxiety. Our own fan base, man, we be sometimes so up on these guys and people like, yeah, man, this dude gonna do this. And then they come in and they lay an egg. Let's slow our roll until we see it. And then when we see it, if it is, then it is. But I'm pretty sure most of us are not leaving. Most of us are not leaving if the Dallas Cowboys cut Dak Prescott. I'm pretty sure we'll be upset. But we're not leaving the Dallas Cowboys if they cut Dak Prescott. Because we're Cowboys fans. We're Dak Prescott fans, but we're Cowboys fans first. What's going on, my man? What's going on, Katharina Kiss? I agree with you. She said hit that like button. What's going on with you? All right. But again, man, this thing with Luther Burden III, boy, draft day is going to be so exciting, especially now that we don't have to wait all the way to like 27, 28 like we normally do. We're gonna get the draft at number 12, so we'll get the party early. We'll get the party early on day 1 and 2, rather than us waiting unless the Cowboys trade back. But even then, we'll be partying, because if they trade back and get some extra draft picks, then we'll be partying again. But I'm excited about the draft, man. I'm excited about the draft because there are so many mysteries. So many mysteries, man. We don't know what the Cowboys going to do. We don't. L.A. Dot, I appreciate you. He said, love the channel. You keep it real at all times. Our fans got to stop hating on Dak and supporting us as a whole. Yeah, we do. And we be putting crazy stuff out into the Cowboys universe, giving our own selves anxiety. Got to stop doing it. Just have to stop doing it. But I'm excited about this season. I really am. Richard Owens, he said, Joe is a way to distract the Dak haters. Man, you say it's distracting them, boy. It's giving them jokers fuel. Man, them Dak haters out there going crazy. Boy, they going crazy about this stuff. My man Chanel up in the crib. He said they will never be a good quarterback in this league. In this league. Oh, he said Trey. Trey will never be a good quarterback in this league. If you want a running back, then maybe you can convert him to that position. Now, Chanel, let me tell you something. You're making an interesting point. I understand the plight of the black quarterback. I understand the plight of it. But I think we've broken that barrier now. But if I was Trey Lance, I might seriously consider changing my position. I might consider changing. Just depending upon, I would really be asking myself, do you really want to be a backup quarterback in the NFL for the next 5 years? Or do you want to continue to, or would you rather switch your position? And because of your athletic ability, that you could easily be a third on some team. I would really consider it. I would. I'd have to weigh out all my options because some guys make a career out of being a backup quarterback. And I'm not going to hate on them. Backup quarterback is probably one of the best jobs in the NFL. Especially if you get behind a quarterback who never gets hurt. I mean, you're not going to get to play, but you're going to live pretty good. Me, I would want to play. I would. I would just want to play. I would. I would want to play. And it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't bother me. It would not bother me. My pride is not built like that. It wouldn't bother me to be a starting wide receiver. If I mean, it just wouldn't bother me to be a starting wide receiver. If that means I'm going to play in the games and contribute. Because you think about Bird III. Cowboys might bring Bird III. If they don't do it this year, maybe the next year, they may find little packages for Luther Bird III. They may find packages for him. Again, Hail Marys at the end of the game, Hail Mary at halftime. I mean, he can literally throw it, he says, 90 yards. He's your Hail Mary quarterback. Maybe you bring him in for some form of the tush push. Maybe you bring him in for direct snaps on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 or stuff like that because he's so big and he can probably move people around. Maybe they come up with some packages for him. But I'm not sure I'd want to do that because that don't really help with my development. Being the tush push quarterback don't help with my development. Being the Hail Mary quarterback doesn't help with my development. Being the direct snap quarterback, the gadget quarterback, that doesn't help with my development. I would really be weighing out by the time I turn because you don't want to wait till you turn 30 and then say, hey, man, I've been a backup quarterback all this time. I think I might want to move positions. It's too late by that time because you ain't going to have much time left. So a lot of things to consider. But again, with Joe Milton, he got time to develop. Joe Milton has time to develop, and God willing, we're going to see. I don't want to see it until Dak is gone. Because if Dak gets hurt again, I'm just like, man, I don't even want to speak it into the existence. So, for all intents and purposes, if everything goes the way it's supposed to go, man, we're not even going to see. We're not even going to see Joe Milton. We're not going to see him. All right, let's move to our next subject matter here.
Yes! Here we go!
So there is a video. I haven't even seen it myself. So I want to kind of give a reaction to it. Let me look at something here real quick. Well, we'll do this as we close out. There is a video here that is showing.
I'm the voice inside your head.
See if we can pull it up. There's a video. As a matter of fact, let's see if we can move it over. There is a video on 105.3 The Fan where they were talking about Joe Milton. And I want to see if we can look at that real quick. Let's see here. See if we can pull it up real quick. And also, too, I want to play a little bit of Voch Lombardi. Hopefully he don't mind me playing it. But Voch Lombardi, he's another one of the GOATs in the game as far as Cowboys content creation goes. And man, God has really been blessing him, man. He's doing a lot of great things in the Cowboys content creation. I mean, he's moving on up. And so he had a couple of things to say about and I want to see if we can get that on here. Let's see here. Let's see if we can get a little bit of what he talked about. And then we'll move to 105.3 The Fan.
In a lot of different locations.
So
Other
Voch,
teachers will ask to use it for their class projects.
Matter of fact, I had to send you a message about it later.
And that ain't me being hyperbolic neither. That's not me doing too much. You know what I'm saying? That's just real life. Let's talk about it. His role. Joe Milton and his role. Well. First and foremost, let me just say I don't think this is some sort of quarterback controversy. And I'm having to say that because you know the nature of Cowboy fans. I don't think Joe Milton is a player that's going to come in day one, compete and try to be better. He's going to try to be better than Dak Prescott, but he won't reach that. And I don't think he's going to give you enough in these preseason games. He's going to be playing. He's going to play a bunch of those games. I don't think he's going to give you enough that'll have you think he's even close to Dak Prescott. Dak got a lot of money on his contract too, so don't even think about it. Now, you talking about
I don't know what else to tell us. Vach is saying some of the same things. I mean, it's not hate, he's just telling the truth.
Versus Will Greer is a whole nother part. Him versus Will Greer is going to be a slugfest once we get to camp. I think he has to beat Will Greer, but Will Greer's been in the system before. Plus, we've seen Will Greer have a crazy preseason game, right? That one game at the end of preseason when Dak was calling the plays and Will Greer was in charge of everything. He played the whole game and threw for like 300-some yards. Hey. I haven't forgotten Will Greer. I've seen your movies and I know how you get down. I just think Joe Milton can also do that. Joe Milton hasn't done that yet. He was a rookie last year. This is his second year. But he's going to be pushing Will Greer. So if I had to guess Joe Milton to be your third guy right now, because Joe Milton's not the guy that if anything happens before, if anything happens before, I don't anticipate Joe Milton coming into the game. Joe Milton's a guy that I expect the Cowboys are going to develop traits for another year. They're going to develop them and let them bread keep baking a little bit. And then once that's done, then we can talk about Joe Milton, taking a real step. And maybe Dak having like 1 or 2 years left on his contract or something like that. Then we can talk about it. Now, I do think this is the Dak and Will Greer show. But in day one, Joe Milton being there, I think Joe Milton be pushing Will Greer, and Will Greer is going to be fighting for his life. I think that's what your quarterback depth chart kind of looks like in the short term. Now, in the long term, future, what this could possibly look like is Dak Prescott being up out of here and Joe Milton being your guy. Because when you got arm talent like that and you have some fearlessness in you and you have that gamer in you, that dog kind of stuff in you, then you want to keep those guys around. If you ever watch Trey Lance always had this deer in the headlights kind of look. Even though Trey Lance got a bunch of talent in his body as well. When I talk about Joe Milton, I made sure to talk about how fearless he was. I never looked at Trey Lance and thought that Trey Lance fearless. Trey Lance was always a guy to where he's looking around, and if it's not exactly wide the hell open, he won't go there. And it'll be kind of weird for Trey Lance. It'll be kind of weird for Trey Lance, but it is what it is. Joe Milton didn't really have that fear. I didn't see that fear in him. So in the long run, I do think Joe can be a guy that can be a Dallas Cowboys forever, not for the rest of his career. I think he could be.
Yeah, we just gotta wait and see. That's the big thing on him. We just gonna have to wait and see. But again, let's go to 105.3 The Fan. Shout out to Vach Lombardi. If you hadn't already subscribed, please do. Now let's check out this thing with let's check out this thing on 105.3 The Fan. I think it's very interesting what they're talking about. Let's see. They're talking about the 30 visits that the Cowboys have had or having. And they did talk a little bit about Joe Milton. So let's see if we can find that. All right, let's see here. See if we can find that right there. But again, the Cowboys, one of the first things the Cowboys are going to have to take care of in this draft, the Cowboys are definitely going to have to take care of that wide receiver spot. they are going to have to take care of that wide receiver spot. That is going to be the priority, and I do believe that is going to be the first place the Dallas Cowboys are going to go, is going to be wide receiver. And again, do not be surprised. Man, do not be surprised if the Cowboys straight up go in there and get Luther Burden III. Because, again, when you start talking about best player available, we've heard some of that talk. When you start talking about best player available, I don't think when you start talking about best player available, I just don't think you're talking about offensive linemen when you're talking about that. All right, let me pull this up.
Good news. We have My Best Buy memberships for everyone. See how you can save time.
Let's go out to the Dean and Leeson hotline. Marking the boys, the best and only Brandon Lloyd. Brandon, why don't you go ahead and tell the folks at home what are you doing on a Thursday afternoon at 8
here, and also talk about maybe strawberry milk. It's not my cup of tea, but I know you guys were talking about that earlier. A little gross for my taste. I'd rather be nowhere else.
Have you had raw milk before? In fact,
lactose tolerant, baby.
Yeah, whatever Fred just said. When you see the 30-day visits that Todd Archer put out today, what was your first thoughts? I know we're going to get more names in the coming days. We also got Dallas Day guys, so I'm not going to jump to huge conclusions. But what did you gather from that list?
Yeah, I think, first right off the bat, I think the top three are the most important, right, with wide receivers. I know we were talking about that, you and I, Blake, back and forth, where the level of concern is for fans and where the Cowboys need to address their needs. And I do think Stephen Jones talked about it, where wide receiver 2 needs to be upgraded. And I think that they have high hopes for Jonathan Mingo. I know we've talked about him a lot during our time here. But I do think that they need to add somebody who's a little bit more explosive. They have very good complement to CeeDee Lamb. And when you look at Abuka, Pat McMillan, and Luther Burden, I would say Luther Burden's probably most similar to CeeDee, but Pat's that big body receiver that if you're looking to just go up and grab the ball. I know Joe Hoyt of All City Dallas, DLLF. Luther Burden's probably most similar to CeeDee. Add somebody who's a little bit more explosive. They have very good complement to CeeDee Lamb. And when you look at Abuka, Pat McMillan, and Luther Burden, I would say Luther Burden's probably most similar to CeeDee, but Pat's that big body receiver that if you're looking to just go up and grab the ball. I know Joe Hoyt of All City Dallas, DLLF. He put out a great piece about how Pat's volleyball background has helped him kind of elevate and high point the football. And I think Abuka, he is your consummate, number 2 wide receiver. He's had the most receptions of all time in Ohio State history, but he's always been the second player to sort of be stars of like a Garrett Wilson and other guys at Ohio State. So I think he would fit into that role perfectly, and I think he has room to grow into a potential number one if CeeDee's ever missed some time. But I think all three guys at the top of the list are the ones that I kind of circle, and then the rest I think are some interesting names too.
So and we
do not be surprised. Do not be surprised. Luther Burden III, I'm telling you. The thing that they'll have to work with him, as far as what I've been told, is he's a diva in his attitude. And let me tell you something. CeeDee Lamb is explosive. CeeDee Lamb, yak monster. But he not quite like Luther Burden III, man. Luther Burden III, CeeDee Lamb has moves. Slippery, sneaky fast. That dude, Luther Burden III, he twitchy. Luther Burden III, is the only way I can describe it is explosive and twitchy. Man, you want to talk about a dude who just flat out got moves, ankle breakers. And I'm not talking about, because I've seen CeeDee, and CeeDee will make a couple of moves, and it's kind of a foot race. Burden different. Burden can put moves on multiple people because his stop and starting ability is just different. The way this dude can change direction, change speed, Luther Burden III, I'm telling you. And again, he's kind of alluding to what I said about Teteray McMillan. Teteray McMillan, what you see to me, when I look at tape on it, what you see in Teteray McMillan is what you get. Wide receiver. big-bodied wide receiver, sticky hands. I mentioned it earlier, jump balls. He's going to be very easy to see in zone coverage, and especially in these rush 4 drop 7s. He will still, because of that catch radius, the tight window throws won't be so tight with Tedder McMillan. So that's one of the things you got to look at with Tedder McMillan. But with Burden, what you miss in the big body receiver, with Burden, what you get is the absolute hit your head on the goalpost. Luther Burden is hit your head on the goalpost anytime he gets the ball in his head. Luther Burden III can take it to the crib. Football speed and insane moves. Luther Burden III, I mean, he said he's a little bit like CD. I don't agree with that. I've seen CD now for years. And CD Lamb is top 3 yak monster too. Not like Burden. Not like, I'm just telling y'all, anybody who's watched Burden's tape, not like Burden. Man, that dude, not only his first step, Luther Burden's first, second, and third step. Just watch him. Shoot, Luther Burden III is crazy with it. Only issue with Luther Burden III is, like everyone keeps saying, it's the attitude issue. But Luther Burden III, shoot, woo, man, let me tell you something. This boy is nasty with it. Tedder, he's not going to make anybody mad if they get him. We'll be jumping for joy if they get Tedder McMillan too. Big receiver. Emeka Egbuka, same thing I kind of said about Emeka. Emeka, to me, well-rounded. I think Emeka is a well-rounded receiver. He really is. And being a number 2 for the Cowboys, it'll be similar to what he's done in the past. It'll be no big thing. And I think Emeka can be explosive too. But when I look at all of it, Luther Burden III is the most explosive with the skill set. Savion Williams, though, he's the most explosive overall, period. Problem is with Savion Williams, we've talked about it already. He's a big body wide receiver, runs violent, got the moves, can catch the contested balls, but he drops the easy ones. And I do think with him, that's a concentration issue, and that could easily be worked out. I think that could easily be worked out. But again, I'm excited because I do believe the Cowboys will get one of those top 4. Now, for me, Matthew Golden, I was excited when I saw his combine. Now the euphoria has come down. Now, as I've looked at tape on him, I wouldn't want the Cowboys to put a 12 on Matthew Golden. I wouldn't want the Cowboys to put a 12 on Matthew Golden. Now, I would not do the 12 on Matthew Golden. If I didn't want Luther Burden III, Tedder was not there, I don't want Luther Burden III, and if Emeka's gone, man, I'd have to think on that one. I really would. I might actually trade back. If that's one of them situations on the Cowboys, I might go ahead and trade back. I might go ahead and trade back and get Henderson, Judkins, or Hampton. I might trade back and do that. And then I would see, like, okay, what does the second round look like? This is when my mind is starting to say, and the problem is with the wide receiver spot for the Cowboys, they can't go too far down. It's not that the wide receiver class is not deep enough. I just think it tapers off once you get past the top 5. It tapers off, and then you get less and less good traits that you would want in a wide receiver. You will get some of the good traits, but then you're going to see, okay, but I got a lot of work to do too. So in the top 5 wide receivers you can't lose. But if two or three of them are gone, you really got to make a decision. Whoo, man, Matthew Golden would be tough for me. And I'd have to think about, does he fit into my scheme? Now, one of the things, if I'm not mistaken, they talk about him is that he's a real good run blocker. So that could be something. But again, he's a 5'11" wide receiver. You know, he's not that big body. I mean, not the big body wide receiver. Man, I'm struggling with him.
I saw that Matthew Golden wasn't on that list. Where does he stand for you? And, you know, the one thing me and Blake said is that, you know, again, 12, maybe with those guys, the Abukas of the world, the burdens might be a little high at 12. But where are you at on Golden? And ultimately, at that number 12, are you okay with him taking a wide receiver?
Yeah, I'm okay with them taking a wide receiver. I think that Golden, for me, he'd probably be fourth out of this three here. So I would put it as number one. I put Emeka at number two, Bird number three, and then probably Golden at four. And listen, that's just me personally. I think that you look at someone like a Daniel Jeremiah. He has Matthew Golden at number one as his number one wide receiver, and Daniel Jeremiah has been doing this for a very long time. So I hold his opinion in high regard. I think he would be a great fit for this team. Again, another speed element that the Cowboys could definitely use outside of a guy like Devontae Turpin. Imagine a set of wide receivers on the field at one point with CeeDee Lamb, Matthew Golden, Devontae Turpin. Maybe you throw a little Jonathan Mingo or Jalen Solberg in there. I think that's pretty good. So me personally, I'd have him.
Let me tell you something that people are sleeping on. Do not forget, the Cowboys already have a 4-2 sort of semi-big body wide receiver. The Cowboys are going to give Paris Campbell a serious they're going to give him a serious look. They're going to get, I'm telling you, they're going to give Paris Campbell a serious look, y'all. They are. They're going to give him a serious look. They are going to give him an absolute serious look. The dude is fast, period. End of story. He's fast. The dude is fast. They're going to give him a serious look. They're hoping that Paris Campbell makes this team. And when I think about Jalen Brooks, surely he can push Jalen Brooks out of here. Jalen Tolbert, boy, he going to be like, man, Jalen Tolbert going to be like R. Kelly in that interview. He going to be fighting for his life. I'm telling you. Jalen Tolbert is going to be fighting for his life because Jonathan Mingo is coming for that job. Ryan Flanoy is coming for that job. Paris Campbell is going to challenge even. Boy, Tolbert going to be fighting for his life. Tolbert this year is going to sink or swim. Tolbert going to sink or swim. He is. That dude is going to be fighting for his life. But it is obvious how the Cowboys feel about these other receivers because they feel like they need a number two bad. But again, do not forget, Paris Campbell is also a sub 440 wide receiver. I can't remember what it was, but I thought he ran like a 4. Paris Campbell's 40 time was, he ran a 4.3140. I mean, that's 0.2 of a second off of Matthew Golden. I'm just telling you, they're going to give Matthew Campbell an opportunity. Paris Campbell. I put Matthew Golden and Paris Campbell. They're going to give Paris Campbell an opportunity. They are.
A little bit lower. But I think wide receiver is an absolute need for this team, and addressing it at 12 to me would not be a shot.
When our back and forth on Twitter kind of stems from everybody knows they need a wide receiver too, knows they need a running back, and I think we both agree they need to address that. But I think something that's not being talked about a bunch, and kind of me and you were talking about on Twitter, was the cornerback position. Your concern level on that, and where do you think is the sweet spot to get either an outside corner or a slot corner to go with your current roster?
I agree with you. I think corner is a big concern, and not just because when you look at long term. I mean, we know Deron Bland is going into the final year of his deal. We need to see where the health is of Trayvon Diggs. By all accounts, things are going very well with him down in South Florida at Alchemy Sports. I actually did a profile on that. I'm blogging the boys, so if anybody wants to know where things are at with Trayvon Diggs, feel free to check that out. Spoke with his trainer, Dr. Sharif, personally down there. So things are going very well for him, but it's a slow build. You can't rush anything with that. We know that Stephen Jones mentioned that it doesn't look like him and Overshown are going to be ready for the start of the year. That was always kind of the idea in the plan. So you need to get some contingencies in place if that's going to be true after training camp. So for me, you have Deron Bland, which is great. You need to see where Kalen Carson is at in year 2. I know they traded for Kyer Elam. Anytime the Cowboys have traded for a player, they always give them sort of every opportunity to prove themselves, and we know he's a former first-round pick, so that's great. I personally, give me Jahdae Barron at 12th overall. I think he would be great for this team. Tyler Guyton was on an interview a little while ago, I believe either a day or two, and I posted a clip on Twitter that, when he was asked who does he want the Cowboys to draft, he mentioned Jahdae Barron because Jordan Lewis is no longer here. He mentioned how losing him was a big concern. Shout out to Tyler Guyton being a certified GM on his part. And he mentioned that Jahdae Barron said he really wants to be a Cowboy. So to me, that kind of checks every box. He has inside-outside versatility. Tommy Yards. We talked about him too. He's a former Texas reporter, also now covers the Cowboys. I just think he's checked all the boxes that you need. He has the demeanor. He's willing to tackle, be physical. Very similar to what I know a lot of people are confident in Trent McDuffie. We know what he's been doing in Kansas City for the Chiefs. And then also some people think he might have some sort of Brian Branch ability too.
I like those names. I like those names.
Wow. Your level of concern, like 1 and 2, you kind of fill both those in one player.
And see, and that's kind of where I'm at, where you're figuring out that hole, and I still like wide.
Hold on a second. So he's saying that he would not be mad at the Cowboys going with a cornerback in the first round. I'm struggling. Boy, I'm struggling with that. I am absolutely, man. I'm struggling. I'm struggling hard with that one. I really am. Y'all tell me what y'all think on that. Boy. Man, I'm struggling hard with that. Let me see here. Let's see. Intelligent Savage, Chanel. Some of you college football watchers. Y'all tell me what you're thinking on this dude he's talking about at the cornerback position. Being a number 12 draft pick. I'm looking him up now. I want to put him up on the board for us. His name is John Day Barron, and some of y'all are probably already well familiar with him. He is the number 3 ranked. He's the number 3 ranked cornerback. John Day Barron. I notices he runs a 4.3 40. Man, he's a mid-first rounder. Man, I'm sure. Boy, I'm struggling with that one. Whew. Man, no. I'm not saying this guy ain't good. I just can't see doing cornerback in the first round. I mean, if you're doing cornerback in the first round to me, man, you got to be talking about like Patrick Surtain and man, you got to be talking crazy. You got to be talking crazy cornerbacks to me. I can't, man. You got to be talking like Sauce Gardner, man. If you talking about going cornerback in the first round, because I mean, and also if you go cornerback in the first round, man, you're not talking about getting rid of Jordan Lewis. Man, you talking about getting rid of Trayvon Diggs. You're not talking about getting rid of you're not talking about replacing Jordan Lewis. Man, whoa. I can't agree with him there. Y'all tell me what you think. I can't go with no cornerback in the first round. That's
wide receivers in the second. I still like a Jack Bash. I still like a Restrepo out of Miami. They are
sort of that physical blue collar type linebacker. That proves to be a really good player for the Cowboys and went on to do great things with the Chiefs. So I mean, if you can get that 4th round pick back, I think that's sort of the sweet spot if you get a linebacker there. But again, I think that you have guy like Eric Kendrick still sitting out there for free agency. Maybe he comes back. I know Todd Archer mentioned that could be a possibility. And it mentioned Brandon Cooks. I know he's with New Orleans now. So we'll see where things shake out. I think linebacker might be that sort of post-draft kind of need going into free agency of that third, fourth weight.
Brandon Laurie, Blog of the Boys, joining us here on Fan After Dark. We don't think there's a strong likelihood that the Cowboys will move back. I mean, not that they don't want to, but I just feel like because of the talent and just because every other.
Hold on, let me reload this real quick. Man, I'm telling you, man, I'm struggling hard. I'm struggling hard when he starts talking about
right now, get an amazing 80% off Athletics Dome Collection, designed to help you stay on course from tee to green.
Whoa. You want to talk about
leasing hotline?
Be that sort of post-draft kind of need going into free agency of that third.
Man, you want to talk about a letdown?
Brandon Laurie, Blog of the Boys, joining us here on Fan After Dark.
we don't think there's a strong likelihood that the Cowboys will move back. I mean, not that they don't want to, but I just feel like because of the talent and just because every other team wants to move up or wants to move back, I don't know that there's going to be enough opportunities there to do it. I think if they can do it, great. Do you think maybe the second round pick would be a situation where it might actually be more attractive, or it might actually be more likely that they have a chance to move back as opposed to the first round and get another pick?
I think that's a great point by you there, Fred. I think if you have a couple of running backs there, right, in the second round, you might have a Caleb Johnson, you may have a Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, and you say, let's say there's a team at the back half of the second round that wants to come up and grab one of those guys. Well, if the Cowboys feel confident that they signed a couple free agent runners, they can get one of those guys late in the second round and maybe pick up a fourth. I think that would be the sweet spot. If they don't take Ashton Genty in the first round, I don't think Omari and Hampton would be in consideration for me. At 12, I know he's been mocked by Mel Kiper a couple times, but if you can get some team to trade up for a runner, that's where they get their guy, and you can get one in the second round a little later. I think that's great. But I think in the first round, for me, I always thought there could be a trade back scenario. The more I kind of look at the draft, the more I hear from a lot of people and analysts. Like, who are these teams at the back half of the first round going to trade up for? Maybe it is Mark Stewart. Do you want to entice a team with a player like that who has high athletic traits, but maybe is a little more raw. But I think the way Brian Schottenheimer talked in his press conference at the owners' meetings is that he said you want to get a blue chip player at 12th overall. You don't want to be picked high ever again. You want a difference maker. So for me, it's like if he wants to kind of put his stamp on this team in his era at the beginning of it, get a great player at 12th overall, and then maybe maneuvering after that.
Brandon Laurie, Blog of the Boys, joining us here talking all things Dallas Cowboys. We'll get to your...
And I think that player, when you start talking about that player that is that blue chip player, unfortunately, and we got to see how it shake down. I'm just telling us right now, if Ashton Genty is there at 12, the fan base goes nuts. Taylor McMillan, the fan base, some will go nuts. A lot of us will be happy. Emeka Egbuka, some of us will be ecstatic, some of us will be happy. Luther Burden III might draw some frowns. I'll probably be one of the people that would be like, I like it. But if you're talking about offensively, this number 12 pick, what he's saying is exactly right. That is and I think it's both picks, first and the second. I think those two picks have to be pivotal for the Cowboys. Those two picks have to be day one starters. And that's the reason why I keep saying those two picks have to be wide receiver and running back. And they have to be flat out, come in, first day, boom, they're starting. Just like when Zeke came, first day starting. First day. If we get a wide receiver, Taylor McMillan, first day, first game, Taylor McMillan, number 2 receiver. And I mean Dak Prescott feeding Taylor McMillan, immediately putting teams on notice. We got another wide receiver. Putting them on notice. And then having that running back to where if they say they're going to be violent running, then I want to see it. Put every team on notice. These are our 2 first-round draft picks, and this is what we're about to do with them. Just like when we got Zeke, and we didn't even expect this to happen with Dak Prescott. But when we put Dak and Zeke on that field, man, in 2016, I'm telling you, I can remember like yesterday. Boy, Brad, that dude, Big Ben Roethlisberger, said, best quarterback running back duo in the league. Them boys killed it. And I'm telling you, I fully believe if we don't run into prime Aaron Rodgers, we might have went to the Super Bowl that year. Had we not ran into prime Aaron Rodgers. It was kind of a bad matchup for the Cowboys. The defense, I don't believe was, it's one of those years people talking about how good we were. I don't think we were that good defensively when you think about all the points that Aaron Rodgers put up on us. But again, it was Aaron bleeping Rodgers. But we got to have that kind of impact this year. The running back and the wide receiver that we get, boy, they got to come out like gangbusters. They got to come out like gangbusters.
Post from the other day, because I think that loomed large and had a large factor in why Jerry said what he said about the Micah Parsons negotiation. But before we do that, Joe Milton, that good deal goes down today. Obviously, that frees up a draft pick. Of course, got rid of one, but you feel good about that. I mean, let's call it what it is. Joe Milton's probably better than any day 3 pick you were going to spend. Where are you at on?
That is straight up facts. I said it before. I say it again. I think Joe Milton was going to be better than any day 3 pick at quarterback they were going to get.
Joe Milton.
I'm ready for Milton Mania, baby.
Okay.
Milton Domingo.
Love it.
Listen, I'll say this. You're going to see a lot of Joe Milton to Jonathan Mingo highlights, whether it's training camp, whether it's preseason. I think preseason football is going to be awesome for the Cowboys this year. With Sam, I mean, he's got the cannon of an arm. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Coming out of the draft, I mean, he was somebody that a lot of teams were just looking to just take a dart throw on because of his arm count. Very raw as a player, still working out the kinks as far as mechanics, being an NFL quarterback. You hope that you can get with somebody like a Brian Schottenheimer, trying to develop him a little bit, get in the room with Dak Prescott. And you look at the final game of the year for him against the Buffalo Bills. There was some good stuff that he did. Some escapability. People will say the level of competition might not have been there for Buffalo, kind of locking up the playoff for them on that end. But I do think that for him, there were a lot of good flashes. And I look at it this way. It's a 5th-round pick. Again, it's a dart throw. It's not as high as the Trey Lance. And when you look at team control, there's still 3 years left on his deal. They're saving it about $2 million a year, given what Cooper Rush just got. And me personally, I thought bringing back Cooper Rush would have been great for the Cowboys. But if you're looking to kind of turn onto the other point of that, where you pull away from the veteran, proven backup, and you feel confident in trying to develop somebody, maybe Milton turns into a great backup. Maybe he turns into a great player you can leverage for a draft pick a year or two from now. But I think that just taking a dart throw on him right now is a great risk, and I love the move a lot.
Brandon, I got one that maybe you weren't expecting. Not really talked about this offseason. I was high on it since the season ended, but there's so many different needs that we haven't had at the top of the priority list. But it's still a concern of mine. The safety position, Donovan Wilson, Malik Hooker, obviously with pretty below average years last year. How do you think that position battle, or if there even will be one, play out with Kwamu and our boy Wanye Thomas? Do those two guys get spots at safety, get some nickel work? How do you think Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson, as far as the contracts work out? What do you think about that secondary outside of Bland and Diggs and Carson?
Yeah, I'm hoping for a bounce back year from those two. I think that what you saw from them, especially from Donovan Wilson before he got his contract extension, I mean, he should have been a Pro Bowl player. He should have been in the Pro Bowl. I really thought he was sort of the defensive chess piece for the Cowboys outside of Micah Parsons. He was great as more of a sort of blitzing safety. He's great and a physical player. So defending the run is never an issue for him. Pass coverage is a little spotty here and there, but I just think when you look at Matt Eberflus's defensive scheme and what he was able to do with these in Chicago, there were a lot of great players that he was working with, and I do think that the safeties kind of elevated the play under his scheme. And I do think that Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson may be under a new umbrella of defense. You got to remember, a lot of these guys were learning stuff on the fly, of course, with Mike Zimmer coming in as a first-year coordinator for the Cowboys, and now they're going to learn something new. But I think Eberflus has proven to be really good as far as helping the safeties out. So I think that it's going to be a bounce back year for them. But listen, I wouldn't sleep on a Marquise Bell or a Wanye Thomas. I think that they are going to get an opportunity to compete. I think Wanye is.
Let me tell you something. Marquise Bell, I just fully believe Marquise Bell is going to be a safety on this team. You didn't pay him that contract to sit on the bench. That dude, Marquise Bell, I believe is going to be a safety. And Thomas, too. I think they're going to replace both of them. I would not be surprised if they replace both of them.
Great pass coverage safety. And we know Marquise Bell can be as physical and also pretty good in coverage too. So I wouldn't sleep on those guys.
All right, so you posted the other day the podcast of France and then talking about the Dak negotiation, basically alluding to the fact that.
But again, that's kind of where I was on the 3 visits, and then they talked a little bit also about Joe Milton. And I think for the most part, people who really understand what's going on with Joe Milton, I think a lot of us are really hopeful for Joe Milton. Hope Joe Milton develops into exactly what we want him to be. a great backup quarterback. And then if Dak walks away into the sunset in 3 to 4 years, then Joe Milton will be the bridge quarterback. And he'll have to be the bridge quarterback because he'll be 28, 29 years old. And they'll probably be looking at the true replacement around that time and even grooming them. So it all depends on how everything goes, but we're going to see. Got a couple of super chats I want to read before we get out of here. Mafia Productions, what's going on? Boy, you just said something. And I like what you're saying. Mafia said if the season is perfect, we're going to see Joe Milton in the fourth quarter of every game. You're right. It's a great point. It's a great point. It is. It's a great point. Alex, appreciate that super chat. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're going to have a great time. And we're going to have a great time here during the draft. We got a lot of got some things in the works I'm going to try to pull off for the draft to make it exciting here on Let's Talk Cowboys. So, yeah, we're going to have some fun here on the draft. But, man, again, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm ready to get to the draft. I'm ready to see, really ready to see what we're going to do so we don't have to do no more guessing. I'm ready for the roster to really start coming together, ready to start seeing the coaches and the players on the field, getting that chemistry together, ready to see Michael Parsons sign that contract. Don't want to hear no more about this contract. Get this thing signed so he can be at OTAs. I want to get all of this stuff and do something that we didn't do over the last few years. Let's not spend the offseason anymore talking about dumb stuff like contracts. And I don't want this stuff about Joe Milton being like it was with Trey Lance. All that stuff just creates anxiety in the fan base. I want the team, the fan base, all to get aligned, and let's do our thing. And the Cowboys go out here and get back into playoff contention, which I believe they are. Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Uh-oh, did I have an echo going on, Angry Cowboys fan? Uh-oh, I didn't see that part. Oh, man, forgive me on that. I'll check that next time. All right. Yeah, Intelligent, I'm telling you, it's going to be interesting what we do, and I will not be surprised if we get that dude, Luther Burden III. I will not be surprised. All right, Cowboy fans, I appreciate it. I'm going to let y'all go and enjoy the rest of y'all's day. Sorry about that, Cowboys fan. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. I didn't hear that echo. I'm sorry about that. Y'all forgive me on that one. All right. Again, yeah. Okay, can be a good slot. Hey, Todd Church, I ain't spending no 12 on the slot, though. No, sir. Again, I appreciate y'all rocking with me on this Saturday. Y'all go enjoy the rest of y'all evening. Until the next time, let's talk Cowboys, where we talk facts. Peace.